Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Great to be with you. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the program if you like. It's JCS at 979 ESPNRadio.com. Find me on Twitter at JCameronShow. WTSM app, good for your mobile devices. If you are following on Twitter, also follow at 979 ESPN Radio, where you'll be able to watch the show Periscope. We're on YouTube as well. Hello, YouTubers. Type in ESPN Tallahassee on YouTube, and you'll find us. Emails are jcs at 979ESPNRadio.com. I should say email. All right. Woo! Well, that'll work. That's exhilarating, to say the least. Congratulations to the Florida State men's basketball team, to Leonard Hamilton and his staff, and to all those players, fans, supporters of the Florida State basketball program who hung in there and obviously were rewarded for that sort of tenacity and dedication with a hell of a second-half comeback. You know, admittedly, down 12 with 10 to play? Probably not feeling real good about that. But you look at this team and you look at how they did it. You look at why they're still standing there in the Sweet 16. It's a team that plays for one another. And to see the joy on Leonard Hamilton's face when describing that afterwards, when talking about how collectively they stayed together, trusted one another, and continued to fight and play hard and stay calm and composed. A group who a year ago, and I think it's accurate to point out that a year ago, when facing this same Xavier basketball team, that when Florida State saw it getting away, lost their composure and struggled to retain any sense of real focus to stay in the game a year ago, showed a resiliency that wasn't there this go-around, and that made all the difference. You look at the balance. You have five players in double figures, and you count on different guys in different moments throughout the contest. And with that win, now it's off to Los Angeles for the Sweet 16 and a matchup against the 4-seeding Gonzaga, whom we have faced before. You may recall back in 2010, the NCAA tournament, lost that game 67-60. That was the 8-9 matchup in Buffalo. But this is the second time now Leonard Hamilton has taken FSU to the Sweet 16. And it's interesting, too, that they beat a higher-seeded team in round of 32. You remember the last time we went to the Sweet 16, knocked off the number 2 seed at that time, Notre Dame, in 2011. We were the 10 seed, beat them like a drum in Chicago. This go-around, Florida State knocks off Missouri in round 1. Really a game Florida State dominated from start to finish. There was one angst-ridden moment where the game got cut to, I think it was 6 at the time, and then Florida State hit a big 3, and from there really kind of wrestled the game back and really controlled the action of that game. Outside of a 7-1 start for Missouri, this was a lopsided affair in which Florida State's length, athleticism, talent, depth dominated the day. And I think the surprise here, and certainly there is an element of surprise here. There's no getting around that when you knock off the number 1 seed in the region to get to the Sweet 16. Given the way Florida State had played down the stretch, given how tired some of the key members of this team appeared to be late in the year, not being able to reach down and find that extra gear when necessary in late games, save for the Boston College game that was so critical to get them into the tournament, or so we think. But it wasn't there against Louisville, and it wasn't there in 3 of the other 4 games that we're talking about down the stretch. I think what's interesting is the thing that I continued to harp on that had me most disappointed is the very thing that they have found a way to correct in these 2 contests, and that is the intensity on defense to get by when you're not able to knock down shots. You know, you saw it earlier in the year. Florida State had some games where, even though it's a good offensive team, it's not a great offensive team, but it's a very good offensive team. Early in the year, it was a real good offensive team. they would have stretches, namely the game against Florida on the road in Gainesville, where they just could not knock down shots, couldn't get into a rhythm. The shooters weren't able to make shots, and they were kind of looking at each other like, who's the guy that's going to beat somebody off the bounce and get to the basket? And at that time, Trent Forrest wasn't back from the bone bruise and wasn't the player we now see who can actually take the ball with great regularity to the rim and make something happen when you're not knocking down perimeter shots. But at that time, they defended with intensity, and that allowed them to stick around in these games, and they would get down 6 or they'd get down 8, and then they'd right the ship. They'd find themselves. They'd create turnovers. They'd score in transition, and they would turn the momentum, the tide of the game back around to where they felt more comfortable, got their legs underneath them, and made shots, and would go on to win a lot of basketball games. The team late in the year was not doing that, and yet in these 2 games, they did exactly that. Xavier is one of the best offensive teams in the country. And you saw glimpses as to how it is they could overwhelm teams, where they play with a certain intensity and speed and pace and quickness off the bounce. And they have a lot of guys that can score, and you're kind of sitting there going, man, it's like you're taking a bunch of punches and you're trying to get through the round. You're just trying to stay standing, compose ourselves, let's get something working, make some subtle adjustments and figure it out. So there are stretches where that's happening here, but Florida State really never got lax. They were still competing. They were still focused on the defensive end, and all of a sudden, down 12, I believe it's Terrence Mann hits a mid-range jumper, and it's sort of Katie bar the door. Here comes an 18-4 run for that ass to close out the game, and you could see all of the pressure, all of the weight of the magnitude of this game, the moment shift to the higher-seeded team. The second this thing gets cut down to a working margin, I think of 5, and you start to see some of their kids look up at the scoreboard. They're looking at the time. You could see the look on the faces of Xavier players knowing, hey, wait a minute. This team that who we just crushed a year ago and we're just up by 12 on, they're supposed to lay down. They're not laying down. They're still fighting. They're making shots, and we're struggling on the other end all of a sudden, and now our best player on this night has fouled out. And you can see that look of, I don't know. And once doubt creeps in, the Florida State players seem energized, infused with belief that they could get this done. And I think that's the direct byproduct of playing in a great conference like the ACC. Look, truncated tournaments, this is what they do. They produce weird results sometimes, and if you're on the wrong end, see Virginia, more on that in a bit, or North Carolina, or any number of other teams like Xavier, it can happen. You can get knocked out of a quick tournament like this off night, and your season is a wash. But when you play in a great league and you play against great competition any given night, and you have to close out games in order to get by against fierce competition in which every night it's a fight, you learn how to play in these moments where the intensity is at its greatest. You learn how to play, down 5 with 3 to play. There's no panic. You see teams like this. This is what happens in the ACC. And it's true of all great leagues in general in any given year. But for Florida State, how many games have they been in like this? Almost all of them, with the exception of a few this year in the ACC. All of these games, whether it's double overtime against Syracuse here, the last BC game we just saw here, the game that they fought back and forth with Virginia in which, it's a one-possession game with 2 minutes to play. The road game against Duke, it's tied at 92-all with 2 minutes to play. The one-point win here at home against North Carolina. The win against Clemson that you have to have. All of these games turned out to be wars. And so every one of the second halves in which you got critical victories that led you to be able, including the road win against Louisville and others, every one of those kinds of games build you to this point to where, okay, another big moment is in play. Another moment of intensity and focus and everything that's required of you in the moment. It's upon us now. When you're a mid-major team and you dominate your league the way Xavier does and the way that many mid-major teams do, right? When you're one of those kinds of teams, I should say.
Yeah, they're a 1 seed.
Yeah. When you're one of those kinds of teams that really has your way by and large throughout the conference calendar, and you dominate teams, I do think it can catch up to you in moments like this. Not always, but I think sometimes in a given year when things play out the way this game did and you haven't had as much experience in these moments, you watch that wash over those kids' faces. You could see it in their body language, And it's a testament to Florida State's fight there. It's a testament to Leonard Hamilton and his staff. He takes a team that no doubt is less talented than the team he had a year ago. He continues to get them to fight. They win, as I said, 20 games this year. They go 500 in conference despite 3 guys onto the NBA. And now here they are in the Sweet 16. And, on this side of the bracket, it gets goofy. I mean, when you look at that thing, you're saying to yourself, well, I don't know. Right? I mean, it's not crazy to think you could beat Gonzaga. Not crazy at all. And next thing you know, you're talking about a team that's in the Elite Eight at that point. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I want to enjoy this win and talk about how it played out in these first 2 games of the tournament and look at the tournament as a whole and talk about other things. But it's not nuts now to say, even if you're a little bit, reluctant, to say, why not us? Why not us, at least on this side, right?
Well, look at the results all year long. This is something I've said when times were good and when times were bad. What are we capable of? We're capable of a lot. Pretty much anything. Blowouts, getting blown out, surprising people, if they just look at the seed or they just look at our record. But look at the substance of what we have been this season. And look at the substance of what provided itself and what proved to be available to us this weekend, which was depth. There's more depth this weekend than we've had. You found 2 different ways to win. Of course, Trent Forrest is going to be the common thread.
He's a beast.
But you found 2 different ways to win on Friday and on Sunday. I thought the adjustment that Ham made Friday night, right away, out the gate, saying, ooh, this starting 5, nope, you all sit down. And let's put a new group out there, and let's see what they do. I thought that set the tone for us to take the lead we did in the first half, and then the lead we ended up protecting in the second half after it got a little bit close. Make no mistake, this whole weekend was every bit the roller coaster the regular season was.
Yeah.
We just happened to win both games. It's a make or miss game, and if Savoy doesn't make that 3 yesterday, it doesn't change, but it doesn't change the fact of how unflappable we were all weekend long. It doesn't change that. It's way sweeter this way, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't change the fact that even when we're down 12, and then they push it back to 9, and we get it to 5, they push it back to 8.
Yeah, it was really frustrating because you kept thinking that you were that close to breaking the ice and making that run that overwhelms them. But to Xavier's credit, they would find ways to get a shot, make a shot, go to the line, whatever it might be.
But we keep getting up, and we keep coming back. That's what's been lovable about this team for most of the season. There have been some exceptions, but especially in non-conference play when we were learning about what this team was.
Right. We learned they were tough.
That was a characteristic that it was easy to fall in love with early on, and it's something that reared its head again this weekend, much to the chagrin of number 8 seed Missouri and number 1 seed Xavier.
Number 1 seed Xavier, Chris Mack, the head coach there, who can be unlikable.
More so this year than last, right?
Yeah. I noticed that. That said,
you can be calmer when you're blowing somebody out, I guess.
Yeah. That said, I will note this. He was prophetic when he said that, seeding doesn't seem to matter, and he's echoing something Leonard Hamilton said about this year's tournament and these teams that have overachieved up to this point in the eyes of many based on the seeding. Quote, I think that no matter who you are, whether it's a 1 seed, 10 seed, 16 seed, well, you just have to play well in the moment this time of year to advance, because the moment, the environment, well, it can start to be overwhelming if you start thinking about all of that and not the task at hand. I thought they began to think about it. I really did. I mean, it was interesting to look at their bench, to look at the starters, to look at the staff. When we start hitting shots to go on the 18-4 run to end the game, you really begin to see the consternation. You can see the frustration and this feeling that they're playing themselves as well as a Florida State team that was beginning to believe.
Yeah, and you mentioned the man shot. It was the corner 3 that goes 360 and drops in. I mean, it's all of those little moments that add up to something. And you could see doubt was creeping in, but I think most everybody in the world believed the moment that they called the 5th foul on Makura, the moment they called that a charge and not a block. Given the circumstances of the way that game was called, which was poorly both ways, but poorly mostly in Xavier's favor, and I don't think that's trying I'm not being a homer in that moment.
Xavier would disagree.
Kabengele, of course they would. Well, I mean, they're golfing today. Yeah. Kabengele had 4 fouls, and so did Makura.
Right.
One's a star player and one's a rising star. Make no mistake, because 25 had one hell of a weekend.
Yeah.
But he's not Makura. That call goes our way in that moment. I think everybody in the building and everybody watching on TV, no matter who you were rooting for or if you're just watching it because it's another one of another example of an exciting weekend, that was the moment that it was all like, this isn't just a nice little story. Florida State may just well win this game.
Well, and I want to note that I think our length continues to bother people. You know, you saw it in the Mizzou game, and you saw it in this game. Xavier is not accustomed to this kind of length that Florida State brought to the table and really, really frustrated them in moments. I mean, you look at a guy like Trevon Blewett, who had a terrible game, was a guy that, by the way, averaged more than 19 points per game during the regular season. You know, he had 8 points on 2 of 8 shooting from the field. He had a career-high 5 turnovers. We really got to him. There were lots of guys and moments of the game where you thought, they're frustrated.
Well, you can tell how frustrated he was because he hit the 1-3, and he's talking to our bench as he's coming back up the court. It's like, okay, well, that's wonderful.
You hit one.
You're completely out of rhythm, though, because he didn't play hardly at all in the first half. And that was, we were talking about this around halftime. And we blew that situation. I thought that's where we were going to lose the game.
The end of the half was really frustrating because you are dominating the game there towards the end of the half, and then the last 90 seconds happens,
right.
And you're like, what?
You're up 3, and you find a way to be down 2 going into the break, and you think, man, hidden points. You know, it's like hidden yards in football. These hidden points matter. This last little situation, 15 seconds, it's a 5-0 run, and it's a terrible offensive foul, and the kid, Makura, hits the 3 from, you know, the other side of the court essentially. Yeah. But all in all, you know, I just look at this whole weekend and I say, this is the team that I latched onto in non-conference season and early conference season because of its toughness. It doesn't have the skill, but it has a lot of heart. And there were people around town that you and I talk to that work in the media and don't. And they say, they like each other. They play for each other.
Well, that's evident, yeah.
And if you're the type of Florida State fan that checks in around tournament time, welcome to the party because that's who they are. They could still get blown out by 20 in their next game.
It doesn't matter.
That's who they are.
It doesn't matter anymore, though.
They can win by 15.
Yeah, and if that happens, good Lord.
We're capable of anything, but we're also always going to play together. And in that fine moment in the second half where Leonard Hamilton chucks P.J. Savoy from one side of the huddle to the other, settling him down after he's getting in an argument with Trent Forrest, you saw everybody settled down and played together. They didn't shut down on one another. They decided to dig in with one another.
Well, I think that's kind of, you know, the whole thing about early portion comments you got of the season, I should say, early portion of the season quotes you got from players that made it evident that they did care and they did like one another and they enjoyed playing, you know, and practicing, moreover. You know, the tough stuff is what you have to enjoy because it comes out in a game situation like this. It comes out in a moment where you're really tested and you're up against it. I think it's interesting that Forrest and Savoy, when asked about that incident, said, well, it happens all the time. I mean, we expect a lot of one another. So, you know, and I think that's true. You know, it's funny when you hear comments like that, you realize that the only people that can really ever hurt you in your life are people you actually love. Like a stranger that yells at you and says something mean, like, what do you care? You don't know that person. You don't care. Somebody who loves you and that you love back and you care and work with and interact with on a regular basis says something biting, that stings because you care what they think. You care what their expectations of you are, whether they're disappointed or not. So I think it's interesting that you could have the wherewithal at that age to understand that when we're yelling at each other, this ain't about I hate you like it's a real thing. It's, look, man.
Yeah, but it took Leonard to settle everybody down.
That's okay. That's what families do. It happens all the time. Brothers fight one another. It's okay.
At the end of the day, is that not coaching too?
It's so perfect. It's so Leonard. Like, you never see that, but that's in there too, right? That other side of Leonard when it has to come out, whatever it might be. You know, he's also a guy who doesn't throw his jacket and freak out on officials. He did it against Duke one year on the road when he thought we were getting hosed.
It's pretty smooth, that move too.
But by the way, that only comes out when he thinks it's absolutely necessary. There's a message being sent in that moment to his team and to the refs in that moment. He doesn't reach to that bag of tricks on a regular basis because then it's the little boy who cried wolf. You don't ever want to do that, right? He's not that kind of father figure in the sense that he's demonstrative, grabbing guys and jerking them all over the huddle, ever, except for it's getting away from us. Yo, listen to me, you know, and it had to happen in that moment. So having your finger on the pulse of a team and what these kids can and cannot do and understanding one another, all that you want to see rewarded. It's not always rewarded. There are a lot of good coaches whose teams are out of here who had a bad day. And there are a lot of teams that, you know, didn't show much during the regular season, got in by the skin of their teeth, say Syracuse, that are still here.
Yeah, again, fully understanding that whatever happens on Thursday night late happens. Let's just talk about this past weekend. You know, Leonard was hopeful when he talked to you last week and when he was talking to the media up in Nashville that, you know, we had learned from last year and lessons of, well, you know, we're a 3 seed. Do we deserve to move on, or are we going to earn our way to move on? And what it's like to deal with the nerves of being in the tournament. And, of course, the symmetry is there because we play Xavier in the second round back-to-back seasons. But consider the two different ways we won. In the first game, that's a team you should beat because, their most consistent player all season long, because he was available all season long, is not on the team. They're playing a walk-on, for goodness sakes. They're thin as can be. So what are you supposed to do?
One at the rim. I was like, look at this kid. What the hell
yeah,
is
here we
going
go,
on? Here
right?
we go,
Yeah.
right?
But what do? You build a huge lead, and then they come back, and they're on the brink of getting it to one possession, and then you reassert yourselves. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a different type of winning a ball game because, look, that happened yesterday. Cincinnati learned a hard lesson about being up 22.
It was a beautiful thing to watch.
To Mick Cronin, absolutely, yes. That's one way to win, to protect and then to attack again. This one was you're chasing. You're chasing all second half long as the better team is outlasting you, and you have every excuse. If you wanted to, you could say, well, it's just a number one seed who had just a little bit more talent, and they pulled away in the second half, and they outlasted Florida State. That story was easily written, and we decided that that's not going to be the story of the night. So we found two different ways to win and two different ways to stay composed. One as the hunter and one as the hunted. That's just awesome. That's really awesome.
Both, though, relying a lot on defensive intensity that hadn't been there with any consistency in the second half of the season. And I think that's critical because you saw it here. I mean, Xavier's going to score. They do that. They're one of the best teams in the country offensively. But it's a matter of what you're giving me on that end of the floor that can then keep you in a game where things aren't going well. 12 could have easily been 20. But they kept fighting, getting a hand in the face, rebounding the basketball. And then they were able to force turnovers. That's another byproduct of that defensive intensity. Xavier turned it over 18 times in this game, 11 in the second half, leading to transition buckets the other way that, again, got this team kick-started.
Well, again, think of it. We don't have a lot of depth this whole season. Now, there's a little bit more this weekend. Not everybody stepped up in the scoring department, and we're going to need some different players, namely maybe a freshman to step up and hit a couple of buckets for us this week.
Hit a wall that's...
It's unfortunate. The skill's in there, and it'll come back next year, but hopefully it comes back this week because that would be a huge addition.
It'd be nice.
Well, I mean, PJ came back from the depths, right? And Angola is way back into... full-on, being able to hit perimeter shots. And Kofor played big for us on Friday, not so much down the stretch, and we decided to go without him in the key moments this weekend, which is another good rotation choice. But all in all, it's just a hell of a weekend.
It's cool, man. They're in the Sweet 16. You can't stop saying that aloud. Do it over and over and over again. And it makes you smile ear to ear, especially because you know how much Leonard cares about that team, those kids, this program, and that's not always rewarded in the way that I'd like to see it be. But, this is a Sweet 16 appearance that we didn't see coming. And I'm sorry, that it's all right. Some years you can say, hey, look, I absolutely knew this was going to happen or that was going to happen. There's no way any of us really saw a Sweet 16 run come in. But we do talk about the volatility of a tournament. Yeah. So who knows? And this is that tournament that we did see coming, which was all during the course of the season. It's a wild tournament with no real dominant team out there. Even the Virginia team that we kept harping on.
Yeah.
They play a style that can get them beat by anybody. Kudos for playing so well. But at some point, when you're trying to score against 5, as Charles Barkley says, you give the other team an awful lot of hope and an opportunity to get stops, as opposed to getting out and letting your athletes run and trying to score on breaks and in transition and getting 2-on-1 and that kind of thing. They're always trying to score against 5, man, and shots don't fall, and next thing you know, you're bounced.
If we do have the depth that we showed this past weekend, which is just it's significantly more, it's not a ton more, but if we do get that kind of depth Thursday night, and then you play defense like you have this past weekend, that's different. These are new developments in the season, and they couldn't come at a better time than now.
Just the 4th time since seeding began in 1979 that 2 number 1 seeds failed to reach the Sweet 16. It happened in 2004, 2000, and way back in 1981. Only 7 top 4 seeds made it, which ties for the fewest of any tournament in the history of the NCAA tournament in March Madness. So this has been the kind of crazy tournament a lot of people, not just us, projected it would be based on if you really watched a modicum of college basketball this year, then you did not see a real dominant team capable of just blowing the field away and that everybody was going to be chasing. I mean, at this juncture, I still love Villanova, and I still look at a team like Duke, who is so talented. And in the back of your mind, you're hearing the voice tell you, Duke's going to win this thing, and you go, no.
Well, we're still in it.
But we're still
Maybe
in
we'll have a say.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. There were other things that happened in this tournament. Also, outside the realm of basketball, Florida State bounces back after losing the opener to Notre Dame. That losing streak was starting to get a little eye-opening. They come back and win the next 2 games to win this series, so that's good. After dropping a series, the first in the ACC against Wake Forest, they come back and win a series against Notre Dame. Not playing great right now. Still can play a lot better, but it's always good to get a series win. Touch on that. Free agency. Pretty soon the start of Major League Baseball. We do have the Atlanta Braves this year here on 97.9 ESPN Radio, so there's just a lot going on. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Why does Mahindra have 97% satisfaction? Ask our owners.
This gives me the ability to do what I want to do when I want to do it.
I decided on Mahindra just because of the sheer strength, the size, the ease of the workability, and it was more of a comfortable machine than the others.
You could lift just about anything with that thing. It has never let me down.
And now get the industry's best 7-year limited powertrain warranty on select models.
TNT.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Gaming, Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachia Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
Could you turn that down a little, please? Hello, my name is Jim Smith, and I'm the owner of Poor Paul's here in Tallahassee. First, I want to thank you all for stopping. I'm sure you're wondering why I'm here on the Capitol steps and why I don't have any clothes on.
Because you're a pervert.
Let me explain. This is being recorded for a Poor Paul's radio commercial, and I think if I record it totally nude, people will pay more attention to my message. Business is great at Poor Paul's, but I still have one small problem.
Don't say you do.
My problem is that in spite of having free Gumby's Pizza and $4.95 pitchers every Sunday and Monday night, free beer and free mixed drinks for our lovely ladies every Tuesday night, and other great money-saving specials every other night of the week, some of you are still going to other bars. Bars whose owners would never bare their souls, so to speak, as I am. So I'm simply asking for your business so Poor Paul's can grow.
I see something else that needs to grow.
This isn't working. Hand me that towel, please.
I have a hanky.
I'm Michael Blank, an attorney with the Personal Injury Law Office of Jose R. Fernandez. If you get into an accident, call 1-855-JOSE-305. That's 1-855-JOSE-305. We don't get paid until you do. Se habla español. Offices Tallahassee and Miami.
And now Jeff and Eddie waste my time instead of recording a commercial.
And then you decided to sell it, and I always thought you should keep it.
You know, I wanted to keep it.
It was perfect. It was perfect. Why wouldn't you keep that?
It wasn't the right color.
It was perfect. I tell everybody to this day, you should have seen the other one. You should have seen the other one. It was incredible. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Landowners, your Mahindra dealer is ready to give you special savings on the toughest tractors and utility vehicles on earth during the Mahindra Red Tag Sale. Hurry in for up to $7,900 in cash back and Red Tag savings. Only from Mahindra.
For more information and to view TNT's huge Mahindra inventory, go to TNTSuperCenter.com.
Offer with approved credit. See dealer for details. Program restrictions may apply.
The cut is sharper. The stance is bolder. The rider is comfier. The frame is stronger. The controls are smarter. The handling is smoother. When it comes to professional-grade performance, no mower is greater than a Gravely Zero Turn. Be more than just a mower. Be prouder. Be greater. Be a Gravely owner. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
With over 150 of them in stock, the Gravely Zero Turns start at just $28.99. Go to TNTSuperCenter.com for current inventory and pricing.
Parker Brothers Roofing says don't play games with your roof. Protect your home and your family. The Parker Brothers tell you the truth. We'll fix your roof, 'cause it's what we do. With quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
Hey, I'm Travis with Parker Brothers Roofing. Some roofers are like a bad boyfriend. They make lots of promises, but in reality, they're just cheap. They don't own up to their mistakes, and they leave you with a lot of regret. Parker Brothers Roofing stands behind every installation, and if a mistake is made, we own it and fix it. Our customers never have to worry about being left behind for the next job. At Parker Brothers, it's quality that builds our quantity. Call us at 656-8112.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
You're up before dark 30. You don't ask for medals or even a pat on the back. But if all your hard work is indeed its own reward, then consider the new Ram Limited Tungsten Edition as a bonus. Natura Plus leather seating, premium projector headlamps, suede headliner, packaged in the highly capable, hard-working truck you'd expect from Ram. Keep doing what you do, but who says you can't do it in a nicer truck? The new Ram Limited Tungsten, the most luxurious Ram truck ever. Ram is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
Live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
It is for those that obviously wanted to see Leonard Hamilton and Florida State basketball move on to the Sweet 16 as they have now. And next up, it's Gonzaga. We'll have a chance to kind of take a look at Gonzaga as the week goes on. But it's a fun place to be. You know, it's weird. When you were talking about it, Tom, we were kind of going back and forth our observations of the things that stood out over the weekend and the wins and what it means and I guess in totality, Florida State basketball, what they've represented, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between up to this point. I was thinking that in many ways, low expectations really allow for this to play out in a way that is more meaningful. The Sweet 16 is the Sweet 16, whether you're a 1 seed or a 16 seed. But again, obviously, a 16 seed would not expect to be there and would be in absolute awe at the accomplishment, whereas a 1 seed would say, we're accomplishing what we're supposed to, and they'd be very buttoned up. And then there's everything in between those seedings, right? When you're a 3 seed, as we were a year ago, and you know that there are faults with your team, there are chinks in the armor, there are things that could be exposed, as it was a year ago in the second round of the tournament, by this Xavier team, whom we just vanquished last night, you kind of felt like there was a sense of disappointment that carried you into the offseason. That cannot and does not exist currently and will not, no matter what happens in the next game. And it's because you have overachieved, by and large, both on your season and now in the postseason. So the very things that people use against the program or against Ham or against the argument for a real firm belief in what this program is doing directionally and in its efforts to continue to grow, have all been thwarted. Everything about this season now, both the regular and postseason, is a huge success. Nothing that happens moving forward can undo those successes and sense of accomplishment and real momentum having been built going into next season. Because here's the deal. The start of this season saw an awful lot of doubt. Understandably, I never took issue with that doubt because when you lose 3 guys that are currently in the NBA, that's an awful lot of firepower from one team to lose at a program like this, a program that isn't one that can just reload as easily as the big boys. It's like if you're Duke football or North Carolina football and you've got a team full of seniors, some of which will go on to play in the NFL at key positions, quarterback, wide receiver, linebacker, defensive line, and they all graduate. You recognize when you're a fan of one of those programs that, well, gosh, we need to go to a bowl next year to keep momentum going and try to piece together till our next run so that we can have a decent recruiting class. We've got to find a way to get into that postseason next year and go to a decent bowl. But now that we've lost our starting quarterback and our run stopper in the middle on the defensive line and our edge rusher, this is going to be hard to do. But you get there and you find a way and you sustain the momentum. That was Florida State basketball because we're not Duke or North Carolina in basketball. We don't just have a bunch of McDonald's All-Americans and blue-chip kids sitting over there that are ready to step in and fulfill the role of a Dwayne Bacon, a Jonathan Isaac, or even an XRM. And so you have to find a way, and you take pride in the fact that the program has reached a place, and last week when we had Leonard Hamilton on, he suggested as much, that okay, you can sustain those kinds of losses, those kinds of hits. Guys declaring early, guys leaving your program after just 1 or 2 seasons where they were the, focal point of your offense, that you can sustain that and still get back. And not only get back, in this case, make a run, does tell you and confirms for you that it's in the right place. Things are going in the right direction. And now that can really be, I think, to some degree, capitalized on probably above and beyond what we suspected possible because Leonard's already a good recruiter. He already does a good job of convincing kids that this could be a place for them, even though they're being recruited by other big-name schools, let's say. Imagine now, obviously this is back-to-back years in the tournament. You've won 3 tournament games in 2 seasons. You've gone to the Sweet 16. You've got the bulk of this team coming back next year. You've got Raekwon Gray, who didn't even play this year, is going to step into the starting lineup next year, we think, and really add to this team. You see the emergence of a Coppingeli, obviously what he's going to be. I still think Fiondu's going to be very good. I still think, obviously, when you get a healthy Trent Forrest for a full season as he continues to develop, obviously, MJ Walker, who's at a wall now, but you see that talent. They're going to be a good team next year, I do believe. But now you can capitalize on this run and go out and get some, obviously some backups to that end. Find your way to sustain this for a 4- and 5-year run.
Yeah, agreed. I think if you can get a player like a Beasley or a Bacon to continue to say yes to Florida State, then that's obviously something you want to happen. But we'll see. I just like the way this team is made up right now. I have such a hard time looking forward beyond even this roster and the red shirts that are going on right now and the players like Raekwon Gray that we're going to see in Polite. We'll learn how to pronounce his name once he plays next year. I just like the way this team has come together and been developed too. I mean, without Coppingali's development, we wouldn't be here, right? I think we can both agree on that, what he contributed on Friday and Sunday.
I'd like to see him get more minutes in general, yes.
Yeah, it did seem like when we went smaller this weekend, things did seem a little bit better for us.
How about this? And I know where you're going with that, and you're right. This wouldn't be the day for me to do it, but I can make a compelling argument that when you look at the times where we were right, it's that stretch where, unfortunately, a certain player is not in the game. I'm talking about earlier in the year when he was hurt, when he missed time.
Yeah.
We got into a real rhythm, and we were able to do certain things, and then we were trying to get him back into the fold, and that's when we kind of hit the brakes and started kind of up and down performances. I think that's a big picture talking point, but I think it works in the micro as well, which is frustrating because I'd like to see those minutes diminished.
Well, and the good thing is, though, that based on matchups, we have answers in a lot of different ways.
That is true. And there have been moments where Kamaji actually was critical. It just hasn't been lately.
Correct. And I think the best thing that could have happened to us last night was him getting his 3rd foul early in the second half.
I root for those fouls to come fast and furious.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but this weekend we had different guys step up at different times. Of course,
I found myself going, "That's a foul. You got to call that." Anyhow, go ahead.
Of course, Forrest and Kabagali were big in both games. Yeah. But think about it. Kofor had a really big part in Friday's game. And in the first half, he made some big shots last night. But in the second half, Savoy gets you there. Terrence Mann comes to life and makes a couple of big baskets, the corner three and a couple in the paint. Even though he's hurt, he found a way to scrap and knife through and give himself a look. Maybe a couple of them were walks, maybe a couple of them weren't. I'm sure Xavier fans probably focusing on those types of things today. But we had different players step up at different times. And I think, again, moving forward as we go into this game with Gonzaga, if the first 4 or 5 minutes go poorly and we have to go to the bench, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think you couldn't say that a month ago.
No, I will tell you, I think it's interesting for how it was that we played out and said we didn't think we could see project a run quite like this, Sweet 16 anyhow. I did know enough about this team to say we'd start slow against Missouri and then come back and win. And everybody stay calm.
Right.
I mean, we started slow, down 7-1, look awful, yank the starters, come back and win easily. And I do know enough to know that there are going to be maddening stretches in the next game against Gonzaga where people go, "Oh," and they say things they don't mean, or they tweet at me and say things they don't mean. and I chuckle at the lack of patience or at least big picture viewpoints. But I also know they'll come back. They'll be resilient. They'll fight. They'll give themselves a chance. May not be enough, but they're going to give themselves a chance. And that is eminently likable, something to celebrate. And today you do so with a Sweet 16 team.
Glasgow City, just to say what I might spy. What should I say but Nancy?
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
TNT Supercenter is your one-stop shop for the largest inventory of golf carts and accessories, stocking over 150 new and pre-owned carts with prices starting under $2,000. Whether you're looking for a standard or custom golf cart, TNT has the perfect cart for you. TNT carries and services leading brands and a full line of premium Mad Jacks accessories. Stop by or call to find out about our zero-down, low-interest rate financing, free delivery, and rental programs. Visit TNTSupercenter.com.
TNT. I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my poor truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
$9,007. Again, sign up today at easylaundry.net. Oh, and by the way, I got you. Use promo code JCS20 and save 20%. That's promo code JCS20. You're saving 20% on your first order. That's easylaundry.net from Wash Around the Clock.
If you're a small business, first impressions can make all the difference. With Grasshopper, you get all the features of a professional business phone system on your mobile phone. Choose a business phone number, make calls, and send texts. Stay connected and work from anywhere with features like Wi-Fi calling and our desktop app. Set up your account in minutes with no long-term contracts and 24/7 customer support. Make your small business big. Now get $20 off your first month when you visit grasshopper.com/radio. That's grasshopper.com/radio.
Hi, honey. How was your day?
It was fine. Pretty uneventful. How about you?
Well, I called the auditors this afternoon and made an appointment for one to come out to the house.
Wait, what? Have you lost your mind? Auditors? Why would you call them? Now we have to find our tax returns, paycheck stubs, and financial records, not to mention all those forms. Good grief.
Relax, honey. It's not that kind of auditor.
It's not?
No. I called the City of Tallahassee Utilities and scheduled a free energy audit.
Energy audit?
Right. It's when an energy auditor from our own utilities comes out to the house, examines the structure, and checks our energy and water systems, and then recommends changes we might make to save energy, water, and money.
And you said it's free?
Absolutely. It's free from the City of Tallahassee Utilities, our own utilities.
Sounds good to me. Let's save some money.
If you're a City of Tallahassee residential, electric, and natural gas customer, you can schedule a free energy audit. Call 891-4YOU. That's 891-4968. And schedule your free energy audit at a time most convenient for you. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities, your own utilities.
Can't decide between fresh steak, seafood, or wings? Well, Miller's Ale House on Appalachia Parkway has it all. From center-cut sirloin and original pastas to fresh salads and favorites like Miller's Signature Zingers, tossed in your favorite sauce. Miller's Ale House has a full-service bar featuring more than 75 beers, plus wine and liquors. Bring the family to watch the big game inside or on their covered patio on one of over 60 HD TVs.
Salad from Bandito's Burritos, my friend.
You're listening to The Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
And here by at least acknowledging that something else happened in the world of sports, and it wasn't just the NCAA tournament, albeit the most exciting thing that happened was the NCAA tournament, at least those of us care about such things. But here we are on the precipice of Florida State spring football practice, and that, too, is a great thing. One of the cool things and one of the great elements of a long postseason run in basketball is, you know, you fight, right? The abyss. You're able to kind of push back the turning of the page. And ordinarily at this time of year, not being a basketball power means that you've moved on, or you're on at the very least the cusp of moving on by this week. But you can't do that now. The basketball team's made it difficult for us 2 years in a row. They've demanded your attention longer than perhaps you anticipated, and I, for one, celebrate that. But it is going to happen. They are going to have spring practice, and we will cover it. And I look forward to doing so, beginning with the press conference from head coach Willie Taggart tomorrow at noon. And I'll be there, and I look forward to hearing from him. And it's always a fun, spring is always fun to get that first coach's press conference. In the past, it's been Jimbo Fisher. This is Willie's first for this sort of thing, and I look forward to it.
Tomorrow's also pro day. It's a big day for Derwin James and a bigger day for,
a much
Tavares
bigger
McFadden.
day for other people, yes. Yeah. His day is formality. I think the others need to have a big day.
But all the same, I was driving around this weekend thinking, are you going to allow yourself to really believe we're going to beat Xavier? Because if we do, the content this week will be jammed. We won't have enough time to talk about everything we want to talk about.
This hour has already been proof of that.
It's a wonderful problem to have.
It's a great problem to have, and I hope it extends much further. I hope all of a sudden you're talking about the absurdities of still talking basketball at the end of March. That is something.
If a week from today we're still talking about a tournament run,
stop it. I'm
exactly.
getting the heebie-jeebies. I don't even know
heart
what to do about that. Well, like weird things will happen. I'll come on the air. People will be watching the YouTube feed. I'll be sitting here buck naked. Oh, sorry about that. Lost my mind momentarily. We're in the Final Four.
And then we cut to the two-person shot. I have blinders on.
Oddly enough, you're naked too, and then everything's gotten weird. Everybody's like, what's happened to the Cameron Show?
But I have my FSU Santa hat on.
Yes, of course.
Merry Christmas.
Florida State is now 16-4 in baseball, 3-3 in the ACC. They beat Notre Dame on Sunday afternoon, 7-5, Dick Howser Stadium. That's cool. They didn't play well, but they won. I like that. I'll take wins. They're going to be fine. I think they're going to be fine. And again, you know what is fun right now? Watching Mendoza hit. Good Lord, man.
Mm-hmm.
This is getting silly. He went 2 for 3 with an RBI. He scored a run. He's hitting .523 with 8 doubles, 2 home runs, 15 RBIs, and 4 strikeouts. Just 4 in a 12-game hitting streak. 4, dude.
Yeah, he had a rare one yesterday when they had the bags loaded, and I was stunned. That's how good of a season he's having, but he's with 2 strikes, there's a pitch thrown right by him, fastball down the heart. I go, well, I didn't see that coming because
it hasn't been happening.
It doesn't happen.
No.
Reese Albert had a good weekend, too.
Yeah,
he had 2 home
run.
runs,
Yeah.
a couple of them, one Saturday, one Sunday.
Freshman going gonzo.
He's got some power.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's a very compact stroke, but it goes, man.
They're gonna hit. They're gonna hit. I think they will. I haven't panicked yet. They haven't hit to start the season. I think they will hit, and I've said that, and I'll stick by that. I do think they'll hit. They are getting on base. They always do. But I want to see, over time, what's your pitching? We felt really good with the way things started. A little less optimistic over the last 6 games.
But again, this is a roller coaster ride. We checked all the boxes before the competition got tough. Then you hit the road for 4 straight. All right.
Well, you played 8 games in 9 days, and you showed the wear and tear of that. But you've had moments where you kind of raise an eyebrow. You're a little uncertain. If there's one thing, listen, by and large, feel really good about the team. That's not going to change right now, as they are again 16-4, 3-3 in the ACC. But I would like us just to pick up the baseball, Tom. Just would like us to pick
any
up,
year now.
Just pick up the baseball.
Any day.
Just really aggravating. Ira Schoffel, warchant.com. Going to join us to start next hour. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Soldier on the front line, tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck, always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Smoother, bolder, sharper, comfier, smarter, fiercer, tougher, stronger, longer, greater, prouder. Gravely Zero-Turn Mowers.
The Parker Brothers tell you the truth. We'll fix your roof, 'cause it's what we do. With quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
Hey, I'm Travis with Parker Brothers Roofing. Some roofers are like a bad boyfriend. They make lots of promises, but in reality, they're just cheap. They don't own up to their mistakes, and they leave you with a lot of regret. Parker Brothers Roofing stands behind every installation, and if a mistake is made, we own it and fix it. Our customers never have to worry about being left behind for the next job. At Parker Brothers, it's quality that builds our quantity. Call us at 656-8112.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License Number CCC 049350.
Driving every day from the AmeriGas studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Kevin Winter, developing story we continue to follow on Sports Center. Cleveland Cavaliers head coach Tyronn Lue stepping away from the team due to health reasons, and assistant Larry Drew is going to take over on an interim basis. Ty Lue left Saturday night's win over the Bulls because he wasn't feeling good, and after a battery of tests, despite still not knowing exactly what's wrong with him, Ty is shutting it down. He's been experiencing shortness of breath. He's had trouble sleeping. He even said he was coughing up blood at one point. New into Sports Center. LeBron James at shoot-around today.
Health is the most important thing in life. It doesn't matter what's going on. Here I know we play a great sport, and our coach get to coach a great sport, and you guys get to cover a great sport, but health is most important, and that's what our coach is doing right now. And we're all in favor of it.
Cavaliers in a logjam in the middle of the Eastern Conference. They sit third, only a game up in the loss column on fourth place Indiana. Spots 3 through 8, separated by 4 games in the loss column. Game 1 of the ESPN television doubleheader begins at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight with the Cleveland Cavaliers playing host to the Milwaukee Bucks.
The first tulips of spring from 1-800-Flowers.com are finally here. Right now, when you order 30 assorted tulips from 1-800-Flowers, you'll get them for only $30. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code SAS.
Live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
on the website. So go there, get caught up. Montage is there if you tuned in late. Email the show if you want, jcs@979ESPNradio.com. On Twitter, if you follow at 979 ESPN Radio, you can see the show Periscope. You can follow me at Jay Cameron Show. Also on YouTube, it's ESPN Tallahassee. Type that in, you'll see the show performed. On Mondays, we're want to bring in our good friend Ira Schoffel, warchant.com, and he is set to travel. Hello, good sir. How are you?
I'm good, Jeff. How are you, man?
I couldn't be better. I'm elated for this bunch and for this staff and the team, and I'm excited for you. So you're riding out, right? Flying out of Orlando, going to L.A.?
Yes, that's correct, man. We let Corey take the first couple rounds, and I texted him last night. I said, "Hey, man, do you mind if I go to L.A.?" And he was like, "No, I don't mind at all. Not flying to L.A." So he was good with it. So yeah, man, going out there and yeah, it's going to be fun, man. It's just that you kind of feel like they're playing with house money, and so they should be pretty loose, and hopefully they'll play well. Because I thought these two games was probably the best, certainly the best two games they played away from home back to back all season, which is a great time to do it.
Yeah, they're a fun team, and they could be a maddening team at times. But one thing they've been all year long is, fiercely competitive, playing for each other. There is a camaraderie there that you sense in watching them, even when things aren't going well necessarily. And that fight obviously paid off in the way of 2 wins here. One of them quite improbable. I don't know. I said last hour, Ira, and I want to get your thoughts on this. What I find fascinating is when you're a team being hunted and you're a 1 seed and you look at the tournament this year and we see an overused phrase is applicable this year. Parity is here in college basketball. We've seen it all season long. And I think when you've got something to protect or something moreover to lose, it's fascinating to watch that pressure mount on kids. When Florida State got this to a working margin and cut that thing down to 5, or I think at one point, cut it down to 3, you began to sense that Xavier was in trouble. The look on their face, they needed something to go right, and it was almost as if they were wishing for it to happen, whereas Florida State's players looked like they were going to make it happen. And I don't know that I've been able to say that with conviction all that frequently this year, but I felt that in this game for certain.
I definitely did as well. And, and I think, if you look at it from a macro level, you've seen it in a lot of these games, in a lot of these big comebacks. And really even not in the comebacks, but some of these upsets where the top seed trailed for a while. Virginia, you could see them pressing, pressing, and just you could the weight of the world was on them. Hey, we're not only a number 1 seed that actually could lose this game, but we are the number 1 seed, and we could lose this game. And they just completely fell apart. I think you could say the Arizona team, they just kind of wilted.
Well, Cincinnati against Nevada, that was insane. They're up 22 points, and I don't remember. I think it was somewhere when it got down around 12 or 11. I remember I turned to my wife and said, man, Cincinnati needs the clock to run out because Nevada is taking control of this thing, and I just didn't know if there was enough time.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing with Florida State. I agree with you. I think in a way, I think the worst thing that happened to maybe – one of the worst things that happened to Xavier was them getting the lead at halftime. Because if you watch that interview with Chris Mack going into halftime, he looked like he didn't have a care in the world. He felt like, man, I had 3 guys with 2 fouls, my top players with 2 fouls, and we escaped it. Somehow we had that little barrage before halftime. We're up by 2. So now I get everybody back. We're going to cruise. And then they did. They kind of opened it up to 12. And I felt like when Florida State didn't collapse at that point, the way they did last year, it got to them, and the way Florida State got emboldened, I think they could sense it. Terrence Mann had a follow, and he, as soon as he put it in, he turned around and stared at their guy inbounding, and Trent Forrest. Those guys, they let Xavier know they were there for it. They were there for the battle, and at some point, I think Xavier blinked.
Yeah, Trent Forrest is not afraid, and really is a guy that is going to be a star. I actually think Florida State's got a couple guys that may be stars before this is all said and done. Kabengele's got a chance to just be a monster defensively, and you see some of the things he does, and you realize there's a lot of game there for him. He can score it too, and he goes through stretches where you kind of see the complete package and realize, man, there's a lot of time for that kid to be a star and to grow into the role. And that's why we were, last week on Headlines when we were all talking, I thought next year looks really good for them. if guys take certain steps forward that we traditionally see, imagine what this team is. I know we want to live in this moment, as we should, but just for a moment, entertain the idea. MJ Walker has completely hit the wall, and that's now affected his confidence, and he doesn't have his legs, and you can see it. But you saw it earlier in the year that he finished around the rim and that he had a flair for the dramatic, and he was a guy that believed and is ultra-talented. Imagine when he takes the big step forward that we've already seen a guy like Kofor and Forrest and others take a step. They're good next year. They're good right now. This is all gravy, as you noted. To go to the Sweet 16 with this group, we would have never projected that before the season. So right now, you can sit back and enjoy it all.
Oh, and then you look at the rest of the landscape of the ACC and college basketball. You look at Duke and Carolina and Virginia are all sitting at home. The Blue Bloods didn't make it, but Florida State did. Florida's at home. Miami's at home. Florida State's the one team out of that group that is still playing. And as far as the future goes, I agree with you 100%. But the dynamic's going to change. Just like the dynamic after last season, the way they lost to Xavier and the reflection they had to do after that game and after that whole season, and guys having to kind of realize what kind of buy-in they had to have and how they needed to trust each other and believe in each other. And there might have been some addition by subtraction there, but for the most part, I think that game really set the tone for what they did in the offseason. Well, now it's going to be a little different, because you got everybody back, maybe everybody back, depending on what happens with Phil Kofor, but you got almost everybody back, and you're coming off of a lot of success. So how do you handle that success? Are you as motivated to make those strides? I think some of those guys 100% will be. I think Kevin Gelly, the strides he made from the year he redshirted to what he is now, Trent Forrest certainly will be. I think Terrence Mann certainly will be. But as a group, will they continue to push themselves and be as hungry after, they could make a run to the Elite Eight or Final Four, who knows? But sometimes that's the challenge is the fact that the challenge changes.
When you say it out loud, it's odd. For those that don't know in the West, if Florida State is to knock off Gonzaga, they'll play the winner of Michigan, Texas A&M. And, I really liked Michigan coming into the NCAA tournament, but they survive on the most improbable of buzzer beaters from a guy who had made 5 shots all year, a freshman that hits a heave to move on, or else they would have already been bounced by Houston. So, we'll see who wins between Michigan and Texas A&M. And I don't like to get ahead of myself, but it's not crazy to think that Florida State could knock off Gonzaga, and then to think that you would be matched up with either Michigan or Texas A&M for a right to go to the Final Four. To hear you utter the phrase Final Four and Florida State in the same, it's not nuts. It's not nuts.
No, that's the thing. I think any of the, this bracket is so wide open, and that's awesome. I mean, usually in a year like any year where you get to the Sweet 16 at a program like Florida State, you think, okay, well now, there's no way we're going to pass that test. There's no way we're going to do this or that. But yeah, I think everything's pretty wide open. It wouldn't shock me, really anything that happened from this point on. What's funny though, I keep reflecting back on some of their other years and some of their disappointments. I made the comment on Twitter last night. It's just so funny that the 3 coaches that knocked them out of the last 3 tournaments are all at home.
Yeah.
But at the time when VCU beat Florida State, everybody told you
Shaka's going to be the greatest coach of all time, right?
Exactly, and he's at home, and
Cronin,
Cronin at Cincinnati, and they're at home. They had a 20-something point lead, they blew it.
22.
And then Chris Mack's a great coach, there's no question. But again, he had number 1 seed and lost to Leonard Hamilton in Florida State. I just think it's funny that when another team wins, their coach clearly is just superior to anybody at Florida State, but here we are.
Oh, it's a great point, and I think you should make it over and over and over again, because I distinctly remember people talking about Mack coaching circles around little Leonard Hamilton a year ago and noting that it was just a mismatch from an X's and O's standpoint. Well, Xavier was a 1 seed with allegedly better players and a chance to dominate a Florida State team that lost 3 NBA players, and they just lost to Leonard Hamilton and Florida State. So, we should remember this and note this as we move forward each time it comes up, that, somehow, some way, we're trying to win games with one arm tied behind our back because we don't have what it takes in the coaching category.
Exactly. And I just think it's what we do in sports. I mean, it's kind of every game's a referendum. And especially confirmation bias. And I don't know how many people I've had tweet to me, especially in the last few weeks, I don't see us running any plays. What plays are we running? And it's like, man, if you had watched them for the last couple of seasons, that is their offense. I mean, they're not going to be running plays. I mean, that doesn't mean the coaches aren't coaching. It doesn't mean there aren't philosophies or concepts behind what they're doing. But but to turn on Florida State basketball for the first time in March,
they're talking about set plays. They're used to seeing set plays, is what they want to say.
And then that somehow is good coaching, but anything else is not. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's just.
By the way, since we brought it up and we're having fun talking about it, I should note this, that not only is it entirely possible, maybe not likely, but entirely possible that Florida State goes to the Final Four, that if that were to happen, of course, that matchup also doesn't necessarily look crazy. Because on the other side, I just want to point this out, it's Kansas State, Kentucky, Loyola, Chicago, and Nevada. So, like any one of those games are winnable games. Like whoever it is that comes through that bracket, you could beat. I mean, I wouldn't pick us against Kentucky, but I'd pick us against Kansas State. I'd downright pick us against Loyola Chicago, and I'd pick us against Nevada. So,
it's funny. I was listening. It's funny. I was listening to Coach Hamilton. There's certain things he says every year, and I think it was in your interview with him last week, and he made the comment. Well, there's a couple comments he's made. One was, every year there's a team that
why not us, right?
Why the why not us theme, and then the other one was, he made the comment about I still think we're growing. I still think we haven't played our best basketball. And when I was listening to it, I was thinking, all right, Leonard, it's mid-March. I mean, that's going to happen.
Played, yeah.
but I this is a case where I think it really happened. I mean, I think that for them to play the way they did, those two games back to back away from home, is really impressive. And then the other part of it is, sometimes the teams that it's what we love about the NCAA tournament. What we hate about it is sometimes things kind of have to go your way a little bit. And as we've seen with a guy like Shaka Smart or some of these other coaches, sometimes it goes your way once or twice and you look like a genius, and sometimes it doesn't go your way. And maybe this is the year things start kind of breaking their way.
That's why it's incredibly important. Time is of the essence if you're an Andy Enfield and you make an amazing run at Florida Gulf Coast, that you take that next job opportunity and the millions that come with it, because it's likely that if over a larger sample size things play out as they usually do, you'll be exposed as being just another coach. Just like everybody else who knows the same things, but it didn't work out for you this time around.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the players, and that's the unfortunate thing about college basketball is they don't get paid legally anyway, and they're going to determine the games. I mean, for the most part, again, I don't think it was an indictment on Leonard Hamilton that they had a guy throw the ball away against VCU, or things happen. But at the end of the day, the players kind of decide it, and I think that it's I don't think it's right to say that Leonard Hamilton deserves all the credit in the world for it now. But I will say, if you're going to give him all the blame when things go poorly,
thank you,
then certainly he should get some of the credit now.
Yeah, good talking to you, brother, and I'll see you before you fly out. But good times. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
All right. We didn't have a chance, but we'll do it on some of the headlines before he leaves town. We didn't mention anything about spring football, and I didn't want to embitter Ira, who's been a little frustrated by a lack of access to a certain head coach. He's going to get him tomorrow. I didn't need to point out.
Well, they're shutting us out of practice, though, so.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean,
I just don't know how that's going to go over.
We've got a press conference tomorrow, Tom. There are Q's and A's that are going to happen here, man.
But the whole thing about out-coaching, right? I mean, if you're holding Mac to the same standard, the same impossible standard.
Right. Wait. If you are a Xavier fan right now, you won 30-whatever games, and you're the number 1 seed in the West.
Yes.
And you're playing a 9-seed Florida State team that for a stretch was thought to maybe be a bubble team. A team you absolutely housed a year ago, and they've got 3 NBA players on that team from a season ago. And now you lose that game? By that standard, how pissed are Xavier fans today?
Well, and how about the management of the last minute of the game?
Sure.
The way they fouled us, the way they did, they trapped and they fouled.
Yeah, they foul Savoy there, who goes up and hits both free throws.
So you foul the wrong guy, and you could even question. I think the broadcast, for all its flaws last night, I think they alertly called that one. Do you really want to foul that early there?
No, you're playing defense. You could just get a stop.
And then on offense, you take your time, and the shot you take is a canter three from straight away. What the hell is that?
You know, I want to note
he has a timeout in his pocket in that situation. So if Plan A doesn't work and you're already down to 11 seconds, call a freaking timeout. What are you doing?
I just want to point out that you can never call that play for Cantor because obviously the ball's too heavy. I mean, I know he's a big man, but clearly the ball was just too heavy. It looked like it took all the strength he had left in his body to summon in order to hoist that air ball.
What was that play?
I don't know.
So
it
again,
was panic is what that play was.
But if you're doing that, if we're playing that game, right?
Yeah.
Then what the hell was the last minute of time management and coaching?
Well, again, if you're playing that game, go to the North Carolina-Texas A&M game and ask Roy Williams how you get the dog blank beat out of you by Texas A&M.
Well, Auburn had a rough Sunday too.
Oh, yes. Yes, they did. Clemson.
Good Lord.
Manhandling Auburn. Sure.
Well, I saw the comeback.
But Bruce Pearl's everybody's favorite.
Yep, right. Yeah, he would have done wonders here. Yeah. Well, he's sitting at home too, isn't he?
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sorry, boys,
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
TNT.
Landowners, your Mahindra dealer is ready to help you save during Mahindra's Red Tag Sale. Enjoy up to $7,900 in tractor cash back and savings, or utility vehicle savings up to $1,700. Plus, Mahindra's industry-leading warranties still come standard. So hurry in for Mahindra's Red Tag Savings.
TNT.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You dream of breakfast like Mom used to make. Eggs, bacon, potatoes too. Can't wait to eat all this amazing food. Then the alarm bell rings and no one's cooking you anything. Real life is hard when your morning is hell. Have breakfast with a fried egg shell.
Get 2 naked egg tacos for just $3.49. All the breakfast you love wrapped in a fried egg shell. Only at Taco Bell. At participating stores for a limited time during breakfast hours. Prices may vary. Tax extra.
You're up before dark 30. You don't ask for medals or even a pat on the back. But if all your hard work is indeed its own reward, then consider the new Ram Limited Tungsten Edition as a bonus. Natura Plus leather seating, premium projector headlamps, suede headliner, packaged in the highly capable, hard-working truck you'd expect from Ram. Keep doing what you do, but who says you can't do it in a nicer truck? The new Ram Limited Tungsten, the most luxurious Ram truck ever. Ram is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
Could you turn that down a little, please? Hello, my name is Jim Smith, and I'm the owner of Poor Paul's here in Tallahassee. First, I want to thank you all for stopping. I'm sure you're wondering why I'm here on the Capitol steps. and why I don't have any clothes on.
Because you're a pervert.
Let me explain. This is being recorded for a Poor Paul's radio commercial, and I think if I record it totally nude, people will pay more attention to my message. Business is great at Poor Paul's, but I still have one small problem.
I'll say you do.
My problem is that in spite of having free Gumby's Pizza and $4.95 pitchers every Sunday and Monday night, free beer and free mixed drinks for our lovely ladies every Tuesday night, and other great money-saving specials every other night of the week, some of you are still going to other bars. Bars whose owners would never bare their souls, so to speak, as I am. So I'm simply asking for your business so Poor Paul's can grow.
I see something else that needs to grow.
This isn't working. Hand me that towel, please.
I have a hanky.
And now Jeff and Eddie waste my time instead of recording a commercial.
And then you decided to sell it, and I always thought you should keep it.
You know, I wanted to keep it.
It was
but I
perfect. It was perfect. Why wouldn't you keep that?
It wasn't the right color.
It was perfect. I
don't
tell
know.
everybody to this day, you should have seen the other one. You should have seen the other one. It was incredible. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org. Because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Ira Schoffel, WarChant.com, as he gets set to fly to Los Angeles, as we get set to embark on the first spring football time period, stretch, practice, if you will, of Willie Taggart's career here in Tallahassee. So this is a big day that's largely overshadowed by a success on the hardwood, which we're not usually in a position to talk about as taking precedent over football, but it kind of does. There's no question. Nonetheless, the interest in what that will look like, what that will sound like, and what Willie has to say is there for us all. And tomorrow, the press conference is at noon. I will be at that, and we'll go from there, see what Willie has to say. I got to imagine it's rather, blasé, sort of a traditional first press conference before spring practice. There's not a lot to talk about just yet.
No, there's not. The things I guess that people will want to hear about is what players did at the Chase and who stood out to them, and the usual thing about health or who's made a transformation in his body that puts him in a position to start this year. Those types of things.
Yeah, and it is all about the product, right? When we talk about the spring game that everybody's excited about and how he's kind of ratcheted up those remembrances, if you will, the move into nostalgia with the end zone and the Spirit Spear. And,
the Spirit Spear?
Yeah.
Where did I hear that?
Yeah. So all of that, again, with it getting the embrace from players of that era. We're talking about late 1980s all the way through to 2000. Those guys coming back, those guys being a part of all of that, those guys coming to record videos and be on the sideline and embrace this run. Well, that's all well done. It's smart marketing, and I understand it. And I encourage it. But really what we're now waiting on, every day that something new crops up on social media and you see one of those great figures of the past, or you hear about this idea that allows us to harken back to yesteryear, you do at some point say, well, I just want to see what we look like. I want to know what this is going to feel like, look like, play out like. And, you can't know until that spring game occurs. At least then you get a glimpse of what the offense is going to be. You can certainly look at what he did at Oregon, and you can look at his time at USF. But it's different when it's the garnet and gold and it's our guys and it's that level of athlete.
Well, one thing that's going to be different about the spring practice and media availabilities in general, and the reason I talk about the media here is how it's going to be projected to you guys, is he's going to be available before practices. It's not a I'm coming off the field, how was practice interview. It's early morning, 8:30, 8:45, whatever it is. They're on the way in to the practice facility to talk about or to go through their practice. And so he'll be kind of reacting to the practice before and have reviewed it on film, but then it'll be, I don't know, the talking point will be about.
I think he's going to give you big picture stuff. I think that's really what he's going to do.
What does the day ahead look like? But often with Jimbo, it was, how was practice today? That was the first question. That's not going to be the way it is with Willie.
Well, the frustrating aspect of that had to do with not being able to trust necessarily what you were hearing. I think you can have your damn interviews whenever you want them, so long as what you're giving us is something of merit, something of note, significance that is factually accurate. You probably won't know because, again, we're not gaining access to practice. But you can tell, certainly with the way that a guy describes what is happening and the insights he gives you. And, we certainly in the latter years began to understand Jimbo just was not going to be willing to give really anything of any significance in post-practice interviews. So I don't care if you do post or pre-practice interviews. I just want something of significance in the way of the information that is doled to the press and to everybody else for that matter, because that's who they get it from. So.
No, I agree. To me, again, tomorrow, I don't know if there's much to learn because what he's seen out of our team is what they're capable of doing in, sweatpants, what they're capable of doing in the early morning when they're just, going through drills. So maybe he can speak to the chemistry or the identity of the team as he's seen it change from when he looked at bowl practices to now. Maybe there's a new energy in the group. Maybe he can speak to the cohesiveness of the coaching staff. Now that they've gotten to know each other, they're not just meeting each other at recruiting stops across the country as they're trying to scramble and salvage a recruiting class. But it's little nuggets like that. And then we'll be figuring out what he's like on when he's in a good mood, when he's in a bad mood, just like we did with Jimbo.
Yeah, and by the way, that schedule has been posted by Florida State. It's out there on various mediums. Tomorrow is the noon press conference, sure, at the Moore Center. But Wednesday is the pre-practice availability, which you mentioned, which is at the practice fields, the archway there. And then 9:15 a.m. media viewing period begins.
Same thing as Jimbo, where it's Jimbo, kind of individual drills.
Right. And then it goes through a schedule very much like that. Friday, you get the pre-practice availability, so a couple days after that first real practice. And again, media viewing periods. But Saturday, there's going to be a practice on the 24th, 2:30 in the afternoon. Media viewing period begins. How much flexibility there is in that,
right? You
don't know until it starts, and sometimes Jimbo even would give you more. We'll see what Willie does.
Well, and Jimbo did in the beginning too. Again, when he was instituting everything and all the changes, and Stoops was in town for the first time, and it was their spring together where they were trying to change the culture. He let us in to watch scrimmages. I was there. I was covering that team day to day.
Yeah,
and
he still let us watch scrimmages up until the final 2 years.
You could find a way.
And he wasn't as vigilant in keeping you from doing that.
You could find a way to do it. Yeah. But he would open up the press box his first year, and he'd let you. I think the next year he did one where he opened the press box. And then after that, it was just you could see the fan day in the fall. And then the spring, he may give you one or two here or there.
You just had to be resourceful. You had to find ways. But
you did.
Yeah. We'll see. By the way, Garnet and Gold game, Saturday, April the 14th, 6 o'clock. So, nearly a month, a little less than a month away from that getting underway. I care about practice. It's less important to you and me in this medium than it is to those who write. I'll admit it fully. Doesn't break my heart because we're freaking here most of the time.
Right,
anyhow.
as long as we get the whispers of how it looks.
Yeah, as long as I'm able to, again, put together a solid group of resource.
Let us whisper together.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, it'd be fine with me. All I ever do for spring practice, besides trying to, glean those nuggets, is really knock on wood about health.
It's just great what a Sweet 16 run can do, though. It's, there's football practice. That's how it is.
Yeah, by now, when you're not a team of significance in basketball like this one is currently, you have moved on wholeheartedly not only to spring practice, but also FSU baseball, which is a hugely popular entity in town, as it ought to be. And, you come off a series in which you drop the first game against Notre Dame and eyebrows are being raised because you lost to Wake Forest, then you lost to Florida, then you lose the first game to Notre Dame, and people are going, what's going on? But you bounce back and win 2 hard-fought games you hold on to, and you win on Saturday and Sunday, and you take the series. And, okay, all right, well, we're moving around accordingly. We're moving forward accordingly. But your thoughts aren't really there yet, and we've now played 2 conference series.
Yeah, as I was watching the Missouri game, I did happen to run into a certain assistant coach who may appear on this show, Mike Martin Jr., and he said, don't worry, the wins are coming, and he was right. The very next day, it began to change.
And the day after that. So, it works, yeah. Well,
that's a winning streak.
That is. That's a 2-game winning streak in the ACC, pal. I'll take that. We'll have Mead on again down the line, maybe as we move on into the next month and we have a much greater sample size and begin to feel exactly what this team is. We do know this. Drew Mendoza's not having it. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Why does Mahindra have 97% satisfaction? Ask our owners.
This gives me the ability to do what I want to do when I want to do it.
I decided on Mahindra just because of the sheer strength, the size, the ease of the workability, and it was more of a comfortable machine than the others.
You could lift just about anything with that thing. It has never let me down.
And now get the industry's best 7-year limited powertrain warranty on select models.
TNT.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Blountstown Highway, 574-4100.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
House on Appalachian Parkway.
I'm Michael Blank, an attorney with the Personal Injury Law Office of Jose R. Fernandez. If you get into an accident, call 1-855-HOSE-305. That's 1-855-HOSE-305. We don't get paid until you do. Se habla español. Offices Tallahassee and Miami.
You check things all the time, like your email every 10 seconds, or your ex's Instagram. But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores to everyone for free, even if you're not a customer. And checking your score won't hurt your credit. We call it the Discover Credit Scorecard. And once you know your score, you should check to see if your current credit card is the best fit for you. Check your credit, compare your card. Go to discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
AmeriGas Propane would like to take this time to thank their valued customers for their business. At AmeriGas, serving their customers in a safe and responsible manner is their top priority. They're proud to be a part of the local community and participate in the many activities that support local charities and organizations that improve the neighborhoods where we all work, live, and play. For your propane needs, call on AmeriGas Propane. Call 877-1122.
Landowners, your Mahindra dealer is ready to give you special savings on the toughest tractors and utility vehicles on earth during the Mahindra Red Tag Sale. Hurry in for up to $7,900 in cash back and red tag savings. only from Mahindra.
For more information and to view TNT's huge Mahindra inventory, go to TNTSuperCenter.com.
Offer with approved credit. See dealer for details. Program restrictions may apply.
The cut is sharper. The stance is bolder. The rider is comfier. The frame is stronger. The controls are smarter. The handling is smoother. When it comes to professional grade performance, no mower is greater than a Gravely Zero Turn. Be more than just a mower. Be prouder. Be greater. Be a Gravely owner. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
With over 150 of them in stock, the Gravely Zero Turns start at just $28.99. Go to TNTSuperCenter.com for current inventory and pricing.
The excitement of the Willie Taggart era at Florida State is in full force. That's why now's the perfect time to sign up at warchant.com. Warchant.com will have wall-to-wall coverage of spring football practice, including the latest on position battles, coach and player interviews, video features, and in-depth analysis. Warchant.com's three-team writers Gene Williams, Ira Schoffel, and Corey Clark have 50 years of experience covering the Seminoles. And Warchant.com is the only FSU media outlet with a dedicated, full-time recruiting analyst in Tallahassee with the latest on the 2019 class. For your 30-day free trial subscription, head to warchant.com and use promo code WARCHANT30.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Bomani Jones with us now.
Stu Gods.
Yes.
Who are your two favorite bands in the world?
Grateful Dead and Pearl Jam.
White guys. White. All right. Who's a better singer, Eddie Vedder or Prince? Prince.
Eddie
Who's
Vedder.
better at playing rhythms, Stone or Prince? Prince.
Yeah.
Who's better at playing lead guitar, McCready or Prince? Prince. Who's better at bass, Amen or Prince? Prince. Who's better at drugs, whoever that dude is doing that bad John Bonham impression for Pearl Jam or Prince?
Yeah.
Prince.
Yep.
Who's better at playing guitar, Jerry Garcia or Prince?
Jerry Garcia.
Prince.
Jerry Garcia.
Prince is a better guitar player than Jerry Garcia. Hate to break it to you, homie. It's just what it is.
The Dan Le Batard Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Good day to you, sir. Just downright giddy. You know, you can't stop it all day long. It's been a shimmy to the coffee pot. It's been a shimmy over to the breakfast bin at my house where I have all my breakfast stuff.
You have a breakfast bin?
Well, I have a little area where, I call it my breakfast bin. It's just a lot of shimmying going on.
I knew you named it because you would just call it something else in standard. You wouldn't call it the breakfast bin unless you named it that yourself.
Yeah, I did.
How late did you stay up? How hard was it to go to sleep?
No, so I was out of town watching the game with my family. We took it out of town for the weekend, the end of spring break for the kids. And so just a quick getaway. And my kids were asleep in the hotel room. And so my wife, who's a Florida State grad, was we're on the bed, sitting there high-fiving, like going nuts, trying to be quiet while also cheering and yelling at the TV. And, it was hilarious because not unlike when we beat Duke when I was actually not on the air at that time. And the when was that? It was that buzzer beater.
That's correct.
Yeah. So cold-blooded. Yeah, and we were jumping around the house, and I threw her in the air and all that. We were in a similar situation when Savoy hits the three. And at that point, we had been fighting to come back, and that felt like the exclamation point. And I really did think when he hit that three. Funny thing about the three from Savoy, they're in transition. When Forrest finds him, he does the jab step, the little pump, instead of just shooting in rhythm. And how quickly your brain processes things. I had an entire conversation in my head before the shot went up, which was, don't do that, shoot the ball.
Yeah.
I'm yelling, shoot it.
It's like the old SMAG double pump against Clemson.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? Yes. So when he got the ball to him out on the wing, I'm like, just in rhythm, catch and shoot that. You're going to make that shot. And I really did believe at the time, I thought if he catches this, because you can see it developing. It's smart. I mean, they go and he splits off, and you're like, yes, spot up for that. Go ahead. So Christy and I are at that point holding hands. My youngest is asleep to my left. Christy's to my right. My oldest is asleep next to her on the other bed. And our hands meet in the middle as the shot goes up. And we want to make all the noise in the world and scream and go nuts. So it's just a silent jumping up and down in the hotel room. And now you're like, get back, get back, get back, get back. You know, because you're thinking about everything playing out. What was your question? I think you asked something.
How late did you stay up?
Oh,
no,
okay,
that's a good story. Everybody's got one of these.
So as it ended, obviously,
your adrenaline's going.
Yeah, your adrenaline's going, and I knew we had to get up really early tomorrow morning, which is now today, to drive back to town. And so I can't tell you how much I wanted to have a beer in celebration, maybe several, but I didn't. I did not have anything but a big, tall glass of water. And I walked out onto the balcony and took in the ocean air and kind of just, all right, we won the game. Let's settle down. You know, I tweeted out what I tweeted out and just kind of got my breath, drank that glass of water, and went to bed. And for the next 15 minutes, tried to fall asleep with a smile on my face from ear to ear. And occasionally said something to my wife like, that's so effing cool that we just won that game, you know.
Yeah.
But then kind of just, again, tried to kind of, gather myself. I was tired. We had spent all day on the water. And so I was at least tired. That helped.
Yeah.
If I had not been sun-soaked and worn out from the day, the adrenaline would have been enough to keep me up all night. So anyhow, I did. I went to sleep pretty soon. And I woke. It was a hard time getting to sleep because my phone was blowing up, obviously. And I had it on vibrate, and I put it across the room so I couldn't be tempted to look at it. And yet, every half second, from your phone, I'm like, I'm sure that's my friends and family, and then, of course, any number of people that I don't know who are listeners of the show, direct message, whatever, messaging me on Twitter. And, yeah, but I finally fell asleep. I didn't stay up that long. Probably the earliest I've ever gone to bed after a moment of that magnitude with a win that was that significant and exciting to watch play out.
Getting old, man.
I'm not getting old. I'm getting responsible. I knew I had to get the hell up and drive back.
I was up till about 12:15. It wasn't
That's
that
not
late.
that late.
No, but I went to battle mode though. I went into battle mode because I knew it would save me prep time today. So what I did was
started grabbing audio.
I grabbed audio. I hit rewind on the DVR. Watched a couple of key sequences again so I could remember.
Take your little notes.
Well, because there's so much emotion in those moments. You don't remember all the details.
You don't remember all the details, right?
And your mind is funny because you'll see something different with your emotions, and then you go back and go, oh, well, that didn't happen at all. That wasn't a foul.
No.
Ooh.
Why did I think that?
We may have gotten a call there. That kind of thing.
Right.
But, yeah, like I said, I listened to some music. Then I watched the press conference, and I looked at the availabilities as the guys who were on the beat that were up in Nashville were releasing the little videos. I saw the celebration in the locker room.
Tim was releasing stuff. Corey was releasing stuff. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That was all. It was all really cool, and the same way. I didn't toast with anything. I just
it helped
took
that
it
it was
all
a
in.
Sunday night too. That's the other thing.
After a Friday night that was interminable, that game went forever, and halftime felt like another hour on top of it. That was brutal on Friday night.
We are completely, to a large extent and understandably, ignoring the cakewalk of a game from Friday night. But you're right, everything about that was frustrating because the game starts out, first of all, very, very late. And you're trying to gear up all day and be reasonable and be in a good place from a mindset standpoint to watch the game against Missouri. By the time it finally starts, your body's telling you, I'm tired, man. This is ridiculous. And then we're down 7-1, and the game's disjointed. It's a kind of a convoluted start to the game. You're frustrated. And then Ham does the right thing there and subs en masse. And then really it's just kind of Katie bar the door. At that point, Florida State begins to get a rhythm and really starts to dominate Missouri in every aspect of the game. And it becomes a runaway. In fact, if halftime hadn't come, Missouri would have been down 100. I mean, they were completely
they weren't going to make another field goal ever.
They were completely out of it, getting owned in every way. It was almost comedic as it took place. You felt like, well, these are 5 college players taking on 5 guys from the Y, and they're just lobbing and having fun and laughing and jumping into the passing lanes and creating fast breaks and finishing on the other end. But anyhow, that game gets largely overlooked. And remember, that's an 8-9 game. That's a game where you're not the higher seeded team. Originally, you're not the favorite in that game. I think by the time it tipped, Florida State had moved to a 1-point favorite.
It was point and a half, yeah.
But prior, the first line that came out had Missouri favored. it shouldn't get lost in the shuffle that Florida State beat that team like a drum. There's a run in the second half. Every team makes a run. You don't own somebody for the entirety. They make the run. They cut it to under 10. But I never really felt like Florida State was going to lose that game. You hit the big three on the other end. Once it got back beyond double digits, it was over. Missouri wasn't coming back. And so, it's interesting that a win that dominating in fashion because of this win over Xavier gets overshadowed as a significant ass-kicking from this team in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, given how thin they were, and I suppose I might have been more scared watching Nevada play with basically 5 players and do what they did yesterday. If I saw that first, I would have said, ooh, well, maybe they can. But given how thin they were, they had to take the lead in that run.
Yeah.
I wasn't concerned yet, but they had my full attention in that moment. Like, all right, where are we now?
This is getting silly.
And I was out watching that game, but I ended up going to a different portion of the establishment so I could just sit down myself and lock in. I was like, okay, now this is getting a little interesting.
Yeah, I'm a little disconcerting here. Yeah.
And by the time I sit down and I get cozy and I get a refill,
They're
we're
up
up by
11.
13 again, 11 again, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah.
When did you believe last night?
Oh, well,
really believe?
No, I don't think I really believed until we cut it to, I think it was 5 or 4, whatever it was. I got to go back through that. I think there's a moment, again, I think Man hits a shot, and there's just a moment where I'm noting that Xavier looks more concerned than they should be, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Xavier has the look of a team.
They're not locked in.
No, they look like they're clinging. And even if you think about it, to see the way that Mac responded, right, the way that he was becoming unglued and his anger, his fury towards the officials, seemed to me that he was kind of getting away from the focus and getting away from what they needed to be locked in on. And all of that was adding up to me to say, man, I think Xavier's in trouble here.
Well, and that's 100% true because by that time in the game, they're awful. They're just going to be awful and inconsistent, the officials.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the point is
the point is
still
the lead,
lose your mind.
Because the lead is now shrinking and things aren't going your way. And your best player in Trevon Blewett is terrible on the night. 2 of 8 from the field. Is turning the basketball over. Shots are beginning to fall for Florida State. They're going on a run. Remember, the game concludes with Florida State going on an 18-4 run. So there's plenty of time for him to see what's coming. We've all been on the wrong side of this. We've all watched a team gain momentum and begin to build off of that momentum. And the next thing you know, this it's a 2-point game or it's a 4-point game. We pull even, by the way, at the 2:22 mark. It's Makura fouling out just after that. He fouls out of the game. There's a forlorn look, and Florida State's come all the way back. I think it's at that point I begin to think, they're going to win the game. And it's not until Savoy hits the 3, though, with a $1.08 left that we take the lead.
For me, it was actually earlier in the second half that I thought, well, okay.
It could happen.
It could happen.
Yeah.
And here's why. We were making our free throws. And that's something we haven't done with consistency all year long, and we picked the right night to do it. And I'm looking at the timeline of the game now, the play-by-play. Angola makes a couple of big free throws with just under 13 minutes to go.
He was 3 for 3 from the free throw line, by the way.
And it gets you back to down 9. It's under double digits. It's a psychological thing, and I thought that was big in that moment. And then Kofor makes back-to-back ones, which I did not expect. And I thought, well, okay, and that gets it to 7. So here we are with 12 minutes to go. It's back to 7.
Yeah.
And you could feel it.
You could
they
absolutely
inbound the
feel
ball
it.
at 7, and the crowd is, you could feel the buzz in the air. We're not going away. It was at that point I said to myself, stay locked in. You don't know which way this thing is going to go. Save for them going on a huge run of getting up 18-20. We're here to stay. We're hitting these little situational moments, and we're making our free throws.
Well, and let's just say this. Free throws were a big damn deal last night. Xavier hit 11 of 18 from the free throw line. And, you look at the second half I'm talking about. Florida State ends up, by the way, 16 of 19, 84.2% in the second half. Xavier goes 11 of 18. And they were a top 5 team in free throw accuracy on the season. So they don't hit their season percentage, not even close. They were nearly 80% on the year. And FSU came in shooting 68% from the free throw line, and obviously does quite a bit better than that. You flipped those two stats.
Yeah, and we were whittling away when they were going 1 for 2, which it felt like they did most of the night. But 1 for 2, and so now instead of 10, it's 9 to 8, 8 to 7.
Right. Making those, by the way, this has been brought up time and again, and I do think there's truth to this. You watch enough basketball. There are teams that are terrible from the free throw line, and there are teams that are really good from the free throw line. But I think on the whole, most teams are kind of like what we've been this year. I know we were in the middle of the pack on the season, right? If you look at the statistics from the nation, we're just middle of the pack. We're not good. Nobody would say they're a good free throw shooting team. Nobody would say they're a terrible free throw shooting team. When you're that kind of team, it really is a flip of the coin on the night. And I believe it's all based on confidence, which is born early in the game. I've said it numerous times to you, and I think it plays out this way more often than not. If you start a game missing a bunch of free throws, you'll see that thing carry over. It's contagious in the negative. Just like hitting in baseball or pitching in baseball, you see it whichever way you kind of start, it garners momentum. When you start a game and you make a bunch of free throws, if the first 3 different players that step to the line have a 1-and-1, and they make the front end of the 1-and-1 to get the second shot and go ahead and knock that down.
Yeah.
Say you start the game 5 of 6. It's like everybody who steps to the line after that believes they're going to make their free throws. And I really think what's interesting about last night and the free throws made from Florida State, they're from different guys at different times.
Kabangali makes a couple of big ones, too.
Yeah, Kabangali makes 2 huge ones. Savoy, who they foul in a silly situation, but he steps up and clearly he's going to knock his free throws down. And you never think otherwise. Like when he stepped up, I'm like, okay. Yeah. And then finally the biggest 2 of the game are C.J. Walker, who by and large didn't play well. What else is new right now? But he comes in, he gets to the free throw line with a chance to extend it to a 2-possession game. And what a critical opportunity to hit that free throw. And I'm thinking, please hit this first one.
It's all about the first one.
It's always the first one. If you hit this first one, it's almost like we can all collectively drop some pants here. I mean, we're getting real close, all of us, to just dropping pants when this thing gets up to 4. And so he hits that free throw, and the pants could come down because it's over. And, so he hits that free throw. I might have celebrated more when he hit that free throw. Was it 6.7 seconds left? He goes to the line to make it a 4-point game. Like, nothing stupid here. Ball's free. Exactly. Here we stand in this hotel, butt naked, in anticipation of a grand victory. As long as you don't do anything stupid, just stand there with your hands up and let them throw it in and shoot their 3. We're going to be all right. It's okay. And we didn't do anything stupid. We made the second free throw, and then we stole the ball. Said, go to hell.
That'll tear me down. We ain't the fortune. Ball's free. All over.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
TNT Supercenter is your one-stop shop for the largest inventory of golf carts and accessories, stocking over 150 new and pre-owned carts with prices starting under $2,000. Whether you're looking for a standard or custom golf cart, TNT has the perfect cart for you. TNT carries and services leading brands and the full line of premium Mad Jacks accessories. Stop by or call to find out about our zero-down, low-interest rate financing, free delivery, and rental programs. Visit TNTSupercenter.com.
TNT. I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this. It's right here, guys. We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
All shell shock, war neurosis, and battle fatigue. Today, we call it post-traumatic stress disorder, and it affects 1 out of every 5 warriors returning from battle in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Wounded Warrior Project offers comfort and support for warriors with PTSD and all other scars of war, whether those scars are visible or hidden. Find out how to help, because for warriors, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Please visit woundedwarriorproject.org.
Driving every day from the AmeriGas studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Kevin Winter, developing story we continue to follow on Sports Center. Cleveland Cavaliers head coach Tyronn Lue stepping away from the team due to health reasons, and assistant Larry Drew is going to take over on an interim basis. Ty Lue left Saturday night's win over the Bulls because he wasn't feeling good, and after a battery of tests, despite still not knowing exactly what's wrong with him, Ty is shutting it down. He's been experiencing shortness of breath. He's had trouble sleeping. He even said he was coughing up blood at one point. New into Sports Center. LeBron James at shoot-around today.
Health is the most important thing in life. It doesn't matter what's going on. Here I know we play a great sport, and our coach get to coach a great sport, and you guys get to cover a great sport, but health is most important, and that's what our coach is doing right now. And we're all in favor of it.
Cavaliers in a logjam in the middle of the Eastern Conference. They sit third, only a game up in the loss column on fourth place Indiana. Spots 3 through 8, separated by 4 games in the loss column. Game 1 of the ESPN television doubleheader begins at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight with the Cleveland Cavaliers playing host to the Milwaukee Bucks.
The first tulips of spring from 1-800-Flowers.com are finally here. Right now, when you order 30 assorted tulips from 1-800-Flowers, you'll get them for only $30. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code SAS.
Live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Nothing stops this train. Nothing.
We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always glorious to hear the montage after a significant achievement for a team that certainly we didn't have penciled in for the Sweet 16, but that's where they are after coming back from down 12 with, less than 10 minutes to play. They were down 9 with under 6 minutes to play. They come all the way back to the Noles, resilient, and playing for each other results in a win. And a lot of balance there, too, with what Florida State did. Guys taking turns, stepping up in the biggest of moments. That's why you see Florida State led by 5 players in double figures, whether it's Brian Angola, who's now transformed back to being Brian Angola and not that imposter we saw for about 5 games, whether that was Trent Forrest, who just continues to emerge as the best player on this team. His 14 points, 5 of 8 shooting, 4 of 5 from the free throw line, 5 boards, 3 assists, 4 steals, 26 minutes off the bench. The off-the-bench part doesn't need to be added on any longer. That should always be as a starter. P.J. Savoy scored 11 points, including a huge 3, 8 of those 11 in the second half. That tray, with a $1.08 left in the game, is something that he'll remember for the rest of his life, and maybe Seminoles everywhere will. What a cool moment for him, by the way. He's really kind of battled a lot of things, including elements of his game that aren't always going to be relied upon, where you don't need much from him in a given night, and he's not a part of the larger story. He's also had injuries since he's arrived here, but he's battled through all of that. He can straight up shoot. That's what P.J. Savoy can do.
Yeah.
And if you let him step into one in rhythm, or you let him get hot and hit a couple, he begins to believe and look out. He was 3 of 5 on the night from beyond the arc. None bigger than the 3 he hit with 1:08 left in the game. Phil Kofer, who's had just an incredible year for him as he stepped up big time, had 10 points. Wasn't a big part of the second half comeback necessarily, but every night you kind of look at him and he'll give you that moment where he has kind of calmed things down for people. Gets a big basket, hits a big free throw, something happens for him. And Kabengele was great on this night as well. And I think a kid that's got all the upside in the world, the potential to be really, really good.
Well, I think also he got a good lesson last night in a victory, which is great, because Cantor is good in the post and going to his left, and they were talking about that in the broadcast, how, he's odd. He goes to his left, and that's usually an advantage for the shooter. But by and large, he answered the bell, both defensively and on the glass. He's got the toughness, but he's learning the nuances. He's learning the finesse part of that game, too. Mentally, we're as tough as we've been all year. Yeah. We're not saying no. We're not going away. We have a 20-point lead or whatever it is in the first game on Friday, and it gets whittled down to 6. And we say, no, not tonight.
Not going to happen.
We're down 12. We're down 9. They answer our mini runs. And we say, no, not tonight. We're going to outlast you, and that's exactly what we did.
Well, it's cool because they're a team that I described as really likable all year, and part of it is that they're scrappy, and part of it is that they play really hard, and that the expectations were considerably lower for this group than the one we saw amassed last year. And yet they lose all of those guys that were a part of the lofty expectations, that won 26 games and got into the tournament as a 3 seed, and you kind of felt like everything would be considerably lessened this year in terms of expectations. And yet, I thought they could be a tournament team because they were scrappy. They have length. And there is some skill still remaining on this team. And, you see that from time to time too. But when put all together, like we've talked about a lot, they're at times a team that nobody would want to play and capable of an awful lot. And there are other times where, man, you don't think much of them. Save for the fact that they're always going to fight you. And that's something you can embrace. You can always embrace a team that'll fight you, even if they're not playing well. And they did fight. I do think, and I'll continue to say as I have throughout the day, that the biggest difference in this tournament, in the postseason tournament, in the NCAA tournament that has been bizarre, but not altogether unexpected, meaning the overriding results of the tournament kind of mirror what we saw during the course of the regular season in college basketball, which was that upsets were commonplace throughout college basketball, and there was no definitive number 1 team in the land or overriding dominant team in the land. But I thought that if Florida State would ever show some defensive intensity to go along with their toughness on the whole, they could win a lot of games. They could surprise. And I didn't see it towards the end of the year, so the expectation was, diminished. But they do show it in this tournament. They really were very good on defense against Missouri, who lacked depth. We really kind of came at them in waves, used our advantages to take advantage of Missouri, but also defended and gave them all kinds of problems with our length. And Xavier's one of the best offensive teams in the country. You look at them statistically, they score on everybody, and yet I thought our length caused them to miss shots they normally make, and it also led to turnovers. They got into the passing lanes. 18 turnovers on the game for Xavier is a huge mark, 11 of those in the second half.
Yeah, again, this team is capable of just about anything, good or bad. So in that sense, I wasn't surprised. I said it last week that they're just as likely to lose by 20 on Friday night as they are to make it out of the weekend. They can do either of those things. But here on Friday night, they did what they were supposed to do. Look at the context of that game, the circumstances. I mean, the most dependable player on Missouri's roster was not available to him, and their lottery pick was still getting back into the swing of the game.
He looked terrible. He looked awful.
He looked every bit the part of a player who was gone for most of the season and was playing it not 100%.
Sure.
He scored some points in garbage time. He gets a double-double out of it, whatever.
He looked terrible. I wanted him to keep him out there. I was like, keep him on the floor at all times. He's terrible.
But it's also a team with no depth. Beyond that. So we did what we were supposed to do in that situation, and that's the mark of good teams.
Well, at one point it's 65-54 with 5 minutes to play. The game was over. Like, it never felt like it was going to be 67-54 is not even indicative of the ass beating that it really was.
Exactly right. Yeah. But then last night, again, that's a team that has more confidence, at least coming into the game, than you do. But we find it, and we wear them down. You could just see it, the mentality. The game was weird for Xavier. Just look at it from their perspective, too. Their two best players are on the bench for most of the first half.
Foul trouble, yeah.
Cantor's leading them in scoring. He's the guy that could not be stopped for much of this game, but they got in foul trouble. And so it never got into the rhythm that they wanted it to. So even when everybody was back on the court, and even when they win the final 2 minutes of the first half, when you're up 3, and it seems impossible that we could be down going into the locker room, right? We were texting about that. It's impossible. Worst case, this game's tied.
Yeah, I was angry because you really blew an opportunity, but I was not as freaked out as I think a lot of people were. It's aggravating to watch the last 30 seconds of the half. But if you told me before the game against the 1 seed, a 1 seed that blew us out a year ago, it was going to be a 2-point game at halftime, I'd say I'm fine with that no matter how we get there.
But that speaks to our resolve. Because you could walk into that locker room at halftime and say, oh, no, what have we done? We let them off the hook. Momentum was all ours, and now momentum is theirs because they're going to get their star players back, and they're going to be in the rotation, and now they could feel like they got away with one, and they're still winning. And that's exactly what Max said at the halftime interview. Yeah. Our best players on the bench, and we're up by a bucket. So I can't feel all that terribly, but it never got into a rhythm for Xavier, and that's not because of anything Xavier did or the officials did. It's because we played with great intensity last night.
On defense, yeah, and just continued to contest shots while we weren't making shots, and eventually some of those shots began to fall. We also made all of our free throws when they mattered most, and I think it's the biggest thing, getting to the free throw line, creating foul difficulties for them, not going away, remaining pesky, and challenging shots. Which allow you to just kind of stay within a margin that if you can put game pressure on them, you might see a different looking team. Well, when you're, as you put it, chipping away, whittling away, and the number is now 9, and now it's 7, and now it's 5, I think you began to see the wear of that on Xavier's faces, the players on that team's face, and their coach. And I was surprised by that because Max, obviously a very good coach, has done a great job there. And his team last year was a talking point of the tournament as a 10 seed, doing what they did to us, but then going on and doing what they did to Arizona and really being that team that you thought, man, that's a good coach, it's a good program. And then they backed it up this year with the wins that they had, enough to garner a 1 seed. To see them lose composure late in this second half, to see them beginning to contest every call that the officials made and to look absolutely frustrated in the moment and uncertain. I think it's the best way to describe it. I thought they looked uncertain of how that was going to play out, and we looked emboldened. We looked absolutely like a team that thought, this is doable.
Well, and the great thing is that you have a perfect point of comparison in that we played Xavier last year in the same round.
Remember how cocky he was? But understandably, sure, he knew what was about to go down.
He knew what was about to happen, but I mean that's a team that's mostly intact from last year too, and so they got hit with a different Florida State team. It kind of looked the same in the second half for a period there, because they pull away and everybody's thrilled and it looks like, oh, we're going to do it again to these guys, they're going to cave. But you can see it. We faced the same team in 2 years, back to back, and we answered this year. We didn't have an answer for him last year.
Got punched in the face a year ago and stood there and absolutely had no response. And this year said, no, we're here. You're going to have to kill us.
That's a compliment to the players and the coaching staff learning lessons from last year and then utilizing those lessons to their advantage when they're in the same situation a year later.
And I think it's getting back to the bigger point time and again. And I'm a broken record on this, but I thought this year was about getting back to the tournament. And the reason for that is, well, it's threefold, and I've given you some of the other reasons, but you've just given me another one. The only way that you can garner the kind of experience, be it good or bad, that can then be utilized the following season of a loss in the NCAA tournament or a win in the NCAA tournament is if you go back to the damn NCAA tournament. So the whole thing about getting back this year was true. The mantra was lose these guys. It's an awful lot of your firepower gone, but you got to find a way to get back, sustain momentum, learn because you're a team of significance year in and year out, what it's like to play in these kinds of games and to go through the pressures that follow. Well, last night, and Leonard said it after the game. I think this year the difference was we were very much composed. We felt very, very much like a team that did not get flustered, whereas a year ago I think we were. I thought the moment was too big for us, and I think this year we learned from that. We learned what it was like to be in these moments and to not lay down and to continue to fight and kind of execute what we're trying to do.
Well, and in the moment where it looked like we were getting flustered, what happened? The head coach settles everybody down with about 10 minutes to go. He settles down PJ Savoy and he says, hey, listen.
Here's what we're going to do.
Here's what we need to do next.
Yeah.
Let's not worry about what happened. Let's do what we need to do next. And who's the guy who hits the game-winning shot?
Yeah, it's the guy that you had to calm down and to separate from Forrest. And, oh, by the way, this is something that I'll always take and utilize from Jimbo Fisher and coaches who follow that mantra about play the next play. I just think it's brilliant, and I think it's sometimes something we all need to hear. On a level that's much more micro. We're not in the NCAA tournament. But if you're on the golf course and you hit a bad shot, you cannot be consumed with the bad shot. You got to hit the next shot. And it really has to be about the next shot, or else it becomes a snowman or whatever else, right? And your round is effed. But see, this was a team that learned that from a year ago. And, hey, all right, we're down 12. Continue to defend. Let's go. Let's whittle away. And it happened.
I think the cool thing, too, is, in talking around town about this team or at the executive suite, the ESPN Tallahassee Corner Pocket executive suite. And, we're going to have to do it again because, look, it's a Sweet 16 season, so we're good luck.
Should be free for us.
Perhaps.
I would think.
But, in talking to people about this team, we're capable of beating anybody. And you would see that look of skepticism, that even though it's true, maybe in the regular season, Tom, that's true. And maybe I believe that a little bit.
Well, yeah, you certainly didn't believe when we were down 12 in the second half to Xavier last night that, don't worry about it.
Well, the game tightens up a little bit, right? And they were talking about that last night. The players were asked about that in the post-game press conference. Did you feel Xavier get tight? And their answer was, everybody does. It's March Madness.
There's no getting around it.
A game like this where teams are good and they're playing well, everything's going to tighten up in general. That's just a feeling on the court.
But see the preceding game.
Right.
I mean, Nevada and Cincinnati, you're watching that thing play out. Cincinnati's up 22 points. As soon as Nevada begins to go on the run, there's a helplessness, a feeling of concern. Cincinnati's looking at each other. They're looking at the bench. You can hear it in the building. Nevada's believing. Last night played out in a very similar vein. It's a 12-point game, then it's a 9-point game. Then it's a 7, then it's a 5, and you're going, well.
But we knew that this team on a given night could play with anybody in the country. We just didn't know they could do it on any given night in March. And now we do know that heading into a weekend where we just took out the 1 seed. Why is it impossible to win on Thursday?
Yeah. Well, and the other 1 seed, one of the other 1 seeds, the overall 1 seed, of course, got beat by UMBC. And it wasn't a fluke. They lost by 20. You look at this tournament, and it's a bizarro tournament, right? It's about you look at, I'm going back through and looking at these games. So Villanova advances, obviously, and they had a pair of routes, so it makes sense. They blew out the 16-seed Radford, and they blew out Alabama.
Ooh, that one was a statement in the second round.
They told Alabama to go to hell, didn't they? And Duke ran away with 2 one-sided games, killed your poor Iona team that really didn't have much of a shot.
They were in it in the 20s, and that's about it.
That was about it. And then Rhode Island took a beating, as you expected them to, from Duke. So that kind of played out normal. But this whole thing begins with UMBC winning 74-54 over Virginia. And you can cue the goats, baby, because there's Virginia, whom we warned you about all year long. And we needed to be on hand together to sing There Goes Virginia instead of Here Comes Virginia. While it is we always like Virginia football, not as much with Virginia basketball. And as you guys well know, I love goats. 0-135 all time are 16 seeds versus a 1 seed, and that is now down the toilet. It will be forever known as the game that only Virginia has lost as a 1 seed. Yeah. So, you go back, there have been some near misses back in the day. Princeton nearly knocked off Georgetown back when I was a senior in high school in 1989, 50-49. But, yeah, you just haven't seen games like this. This was a beating. I mean, just a beating. It was not a bunch of lucky things. It was, we're better than you.
Well, and it has no bearing on our game. However, to see some upsets yesterday, like Syracuse beating Michigan State, and then obviously the comeback on the court that we were playing on, I thought, oh, no. There are the odds, the outliers. They've already been exhausted. So we can't take out the 1 seed. It's just, it has no bearing, but that's how you feel as a fan. And yet, no, we weren't done yet.
Do you laugh, as I do, in looking at the fact that, it was almost predictable because it did happen just a couple of years ago, but that Syracuse gets in the tournament. And, of course, they're – so imagine you're Virginia today and you're looking over there like, oh, so I see where Florida State and Syracuse have moved on to the Sweet 16 and Clemson alike. Well, now, isn't that something? Not only have they moved to the Sweet 16, but they've made it 2 rounds beyond where we are.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me about 1995 again. I got a story for you.
You wouldn't believe it. The ACC and the Big 12 both have 4 teams each left in the Sweet 16. And you noted, as I did earlier, that Clemson crushed Auburn, and they join us and Duke and Syracuse in the next round. Meanwhile, Kansas, Kansas State, Texas Tech, and West Virginia.
Did you watch a second of Auburn-Clemson?
I did until it was out of hand, which was pretty quick.
Not just screwing, Mitch.
Woo! Woo! Talk about non-competitive.
Not just screwing, Mitch.
No. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this. It's right here, guys. We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Smoother, bolder, sharper, comfier, smarter, fiercer, tougher, stronger, longer, greater, prouder. Gravely zero-turn mowers.
Maximas and Rogues have savings up to $6,000. Titans have 0% for 72 months. Available no money down and no payments until June. At Kraft Nissan, our prices and discounts cannot be beat because we share our fiscal year-end bonus with you. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco. Financing through NMAC with approved credit.
Everyone's going naked this March. Hooters is a place to be to cheer on your favorite team during the madness of March. Did I mention Hooters has smoked wings? They're only half the calories, so you should be able to eat twice as many. Happy hour 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, along with half-price apps. Wings Day Wednesday, bottomless, boneless wings and fries. Remember, no great story ever started over breadsticks. Hooters makes you happy. 2000 North Monroe Street, online at hooters.com, or call them at 385-2004.
I'm Michael Blank, an attorney with the Personal Injury Law Office of Jose R. Fernandez. If you get into an accident, call 1-855-HOSE-305. That's 1-855-HOSE-305. We don't get paid until you do. Se habla español. Offices Tallahassee and Miami.
At CVS Pharmacy at Target, we put a little extra heart into everything we do, like actively looking to save you money. Generics, 90-day refills, even rewards. Get a $5 Target coupon for every 10 prescriptions. On your next Target run, stop by CVS Pharmacy. We're the place with the big heart. Not valid on all prescriptions, including those purchased in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Other restrictions apply. See cvs.com/extracare-target or the pharmacy for details. CVS Pharmacy at Target. Health is everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's opponents on Man vs. Train. At the crossing, we have Rick, a 175-pound frustrated man who's running late for work. And on the tracks, we have Bull, a million-pound freight train that takes a mile to stop. Let's see who comes out on top.
You can't beat a train, so don't try. Stop. Trains can't. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Join Tallahassee Sports Monster all NCAA tournament long, from the opening tip to the cutting down of the nets, as our partners at Westwood One bring you all the heart-pounding moments. At the buzzer, oh my goodness! And madness. For the championship! That March has to offer. The NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament on 97.9 ESPN Radio is brought to you locally by Hobbit American Grill, Cornerstone Tool and Fastener, TNT Supercenter in Thomasville, Georgia, and Miller's Ale House on Appalachian Parkway. This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
One involves tonight. If you got the opportunity, make your way over to the TLC Double C, friends. More basketball on the horizon as the Lady Noles have an opportunity to join the men's big dance and go to the Sweet 16. I'm not playing in the men's big dance, but they'll go to the Sweet 16, the equivalent, Sweet 16. They, by the way, did the Florida State women's basketball team. They did their part in the first round game against 14-seeded Arkansas Little Rock. That was a butt-kicking, 91-49. Now they take on the 11-seed Buffalo, Tom, tonight at 6:30 at the TLC Double C. So women's basketball tonight. And it should be noted that, of course, we're all gearing up for whenever it is that somebody has to play UConn. UConn, who began their NCAA tournament with a 140-52 win.
I just don't know how Gino does it. It's incredible. It's so difficult, and he seems to achieve it with greater consistency than anybody else in a sport with so much parity.
140-52 in an NCAA tournament game. Okay.
Did you see what Seminole Sound did this weekend for Buffalo?
I did not.
Oh, this was cool. Okay, so...
they played. Yeah, they stayed. Yes,
they
I did
stayed.
See that.
They changed
I apologize. That's right.
The Buffalo garb. They played their fight song because they said everyone deserves to have their fight song played in the tournament. I thought that was a really cool gesture.
I think it's a great gesture. You're right. I did see that. I apologize. I should have said yes when you asked me the question. I did see that. Also, should be noted, some information here that's outstanding news. Practice, meaning that football practice, aforementioned on the program today, will in fact be open Wednesday and Friday to the public. Practice open to the public, all of y'all. Want to go see these practices? You can on Wednesday and Friday.
My goodness.
Wednesday and Friday, practices are open. I will be in Los Angeles.
Is that who you heard from?
No.
Oh.
I heard from FSU Sports Information, but that is fantastic news.
Maybe somebody can Periscope it to him.
Yeah, so practice is open on Wednesday and Friday.
Okay.
If you're up for going out to watch some practices.
Well, that's a smart play.
Yeah, nicely done.
Very wise play.
There it is. Well done, sir. So that's the football team. Yes, in fact, spring practice is beginning.
Somewhere this weekend, too, there was a golf tournament with a leaderboard that was insane in Orlando.
Didn't even touch it. Didn't even get to it, right? Welcome back,
Rightfully
Rory
so.
McIlroy, who decided for once, for the first time in over a year, to make some damn putts, and a lot of them, I might add. So let's see if that carries on over as we move towards Augusta. Of course, one El Tigre Woods, El Tigre, I should say, finished in the top 10. Gave it back, man. Unfortunately, gave it back. Got it to 12, and I thought, oh, well, what are we doing here? But now he's a model of consistency. He's just a top 10 machine.
Yeah, I'm sure we can touch on it more as the week goes on, but he was interviewed about that post-round. He said, I just didn't commit to the shot on 16 that I needed to hit. I mean, he would never do that in the past.
No, it's cool.
He has this willingness to be transparent, to be a little bit vulnerable, and to own his own mistakes. I don't know if that's going to make him a better player or a worse player, but the rise back to prominence has been meteoric. It's crazy what he's doing.
It's been fun. It's consistent. He's good week in and week out. Now, we knew he'd be good in this tournament because he always is. I mean, if he can breathe, he'd probably shoot something close to the lead over there at Bay Hill. But interesting leaderboard, too, because you had Stinson, who I thought was going to run away and hide, but kind of what happened there, Henry?
Yeah, he choked.
Yeah, a little bit. So, good to see Rory back. I continue to get excited about what's happening in golf right now and the opportunity to see, what takes place, transpires at Augusta. If you've got Rory playing well and Phil playing well and Tiger playing well and Justin Thomas playing well and you throw in a Spieth, you throw in any of these other guys, Jason Day, who's playing really well right now.
Justin Rose.
Well, and remember Dustin Johnson missed the tournament a year ago because he fell down the steps, allegedly, right before the tournament. Had you forgotten about that as well?
I hadn't. No, I thought about a follow-up question about that and an answer I got.
So, anyhow, Dustin... he'll be playing in the tournament this year, presumably. Yeah, so
maybe Jack will come back and shoot 76 and give everybody a thrill.
But anyhow, so, we're going to get to see all of that, and I'm excited about it. Tonight, women's basketball, before I forget to mention it again, a lot of people are just hopping in their car. You should know. Lady Knowles, of course, crushed Arkansas Little Rock 91-49 on Saturday morning. I hate that it was Saturday at 11 a.m. It's bizarre.
Last chance to see him, right? In person?
That's right.
Unless you're traveling.
6:30, a little less than an hour, TLC CCC. If for some reason you got to stay at work late or you can't get over there, that game tonight is on ESPN2 if you'd like to watch it and you can't get over.
Go Knowles. Go get him. Sweet 16. Let's sweep it. 2 for 2.
Really cool. I mean, it's a great accomplishment if we're sitting there with both programs in the Sweet 16 after tonight, and I think we will be, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and call it right now, Tom. It's kind of bold prediction that I'm known to give right here. I'm going to take Florida State, the women's basketball team, to win big tonight over 11-seed Buffalo at the TLC CCC. Double-digit victory.
Ooh.
Easily. They win going away.
Going to win bigly.
They win going away, good sir. It's Jeff Cameron, Show 97.9 ESPN Radio.
No time to be unwound.
Sorry, boys, I did not.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin, Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Landowners, your Mahindra dealer is ready to help you save during Mahindra's Red Tag Sale. Enjoy up to $7,900 in tractor cash back and savings, or utility vehicle savings up to $1,700. Plus, Mahindra's industry-leading warranties still come standard. So hurry in for Mahindra's Red Tag Savings.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
In addition, as a bonus, Natura Plus leather seating, premium projector headlamps, suede headliner, packaged in the highly capable, hard-working truck you'd expect from Ram. Keep doing what you do, but who says you can't do it in a nicer truck? The new Ram Limited Tungsten, the most luxurious Ram truck ever. Ram is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
Turn up the savings and be comfortable this spring when you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Get $1,200 in cool cash rebates when you purchase a select Carrier system and get up to 60 months no interest on all purchases. Learn more at baranoac.com.
Barry heating and air conditioning.
Florida license CAC 057652.
Everyone's going naked this March. Hooters is a place to be to cheer on your favorite team during the madness of March. Did I mention Hooters has smoked wings? They're only half the calories, so you should be able to eat twice as many. Happy hour 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, along with half-price apps. Wings Day Wednesday, bottomless, boneless wings and fries. Remember, no great story ever started over breadsticks. Hooters makes you happy. 2000 North Monroe Street, online at hooters.com, or call them at 385-2004.
Don't just listen to The Jeff Cameron Show. Watch it live. The Jeff Cameron Show Streamcast. Live weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. Head to ESPNTallahassee.com today to watch live or catch up on demand. The Jeff Cameron Show Streamcast. Brought to you by Nice Tire and Auto, your trusted Goodyear dealer.
Nice Tire and Auto, just minutes away from FSU campus. Did you know that one major advantage of propane cooking is that it offers more precise temperature control than electric? That means perfectly cooked meals every time. Propane also heats your home faster and maintains the warmth longer than electric or fuel oil, allowing you to potentially reduce your energy bill. If you'd like to know more, contact AmeriGas Propane right here in Tallahassee at 877-1122.
Want better gas mileage and a longer-lasting engine? Change your oil every 3 months or 3,000 miles, whichever comes first. You know that sticker on your windshield? Don't look at it now. Wait until the next red light. Okay, check the number on your sticker. Then check your odometer. Is it time? There are 19 Tallahassee area Super Lube locations, which means there's one close to you right now. No appointments, and you're in and out in no time. You can do this today. Super Lube, for better gas mileage and a longer-lasting engine.
How I love to Super Lube my car. Yes, sir.
This Day in Sports, brought to you by Superlube. Superlube, 19 Tallahassee area locations. Quick, convenient, no appointment necessary.
This day in sports history. March 19th, 1995. Michael Jordan came out of retirement to rejoin the Chicago Bulls, debuting in a game against the Indiana Pacers. The Bulls lost the comeback game in overtime, 106-93. Jordan showed some rust, shooting 7 for 28, getting 19 points. But he was able to play 43 out of the game's 53 minutes.
Coverage of Florida State basketball on The Jeff Cameron Show and 97.9 ESPN Radio is brought to you all season long by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachia Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
In that kind of day, this song is played sort of in my head since late last night. You could just, at varying points of your day, find yourself humming along, smiling. How about that? We're in the Sweet 16.
I listened to You Should Be Dancing by the Bee Gees at least 4 times before I went to bed. It's catchy.
Hence the reason it's sold. You know, it's funny. We have, I don't know if you have the audio, Tom. We should probably grab it if you do. We interviewed Ham last week before they were off to play Missouri and start the tournament run. And he was in great spirits, and it was an enjoyable conversation. If you missed the interview, it's in the archives, espntallahassee.com, or you can find it on iTunes. It was last Wednesday? Tuesday?
Man, all the days blend together. I think it was Wednesday.
I don't remember which damn day it was, but it says Leonard Hamilton interview, yes?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so people can find it. That's all I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll find it. But if you missed it, it's an enjoyable talk. And he talked about not knowing, always having the answer, not always knowing which buttons to push. If they did, obviously, you'd be more successful all the time. But that's one of the things when working with young people. But you could tell he was in a great mood, and he actually, I thought, sounded like a confident coach. He sounded like a guy who thought there may be something in there that's still left, even though they didn't play well in the ACC tournament. He said what he needed to say about the ACC tournament. But I certainly got the sense that he was fine with how that thing played out because he knows that his guys needed the rest. But when we were talking towards the end of the interview, how happy is he? Listen to this laugh. I think if you know where I'm going with this, Tom, grab it. It's him talking about, needing to be hungry and angry and focused, and they got to find it. And so we're just chit-chatting about the potential of this team in the tournament.
A team that's very hungry. Hopefully, though, that we can be just a little hungrier. Maybe we can be hangry.
If you listen to him, he's made himself laugh. He continues on. I know you cut it there, but he's still laughing. He's just chuckling away.
A team that's very hungry. Hopefully, though, that we can be just a little hungrier. Maybe we can be hangry.
Yeah, that chuckle goes on for a while. He was anticipatory in the joke. Yeah, it was good.
I don't think the chuckle has ended, actually.
No, he's still chuckling. Well, he, like everybody else that pulls for this team or went to this school or whatever it might be, is very proud. If you just first of all, the team is, as I've said all year long, likable. If you just like watching Florida State basketball, then you're happy today, not just because of the win, but the kind of win that it was. I mean, you knocked down a number 1 seed. You didn't upset somebody who was just, they were everybody from 4 to 14 to 16 is about the same. No, you beat a number 1 seed.
Yeah, and you came back from a dozen down in the second half. You showed heart. You showed a willingness to not quit. And you could have. There were moments where it looked like we were going to.
Yeah, you're down, like you said, down 12 with less than 10 to play. I think you're down 9 with 5-something to play. I mean, there's a lot of heart there.
Yes, and Savoy's getting dragged from one side of the huddle to the other by the head coach. You're thinking, okay.
Which, by the way, I loved.
Yeah.
Ham's like, no, no.
You guys may be critical of each other, but not this critical.
Not right now.
Whose turn is it to talk? It is my turn to talk.
I loved it.
Who's wearing a suit jacket?
Yes.
He who wears the suit jacket may speak.
He's really measured in general and is fatherly, and you had a moment there like you have with siblings, right, where they're in the back of the car yelling at you, and somebody has crossed a line,
right,
and the dad has finally decided, oh, no.
Right, but the dad also told the mom to stand down because I think it was CY.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, back off. I got this. I have command.
Yeah, don't worry.
All eyes on me.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And it was great to see just parts of his personality sometimes come out that you haven't seen in a while. And you're reminded that that's in there too. That's in there too.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't like you could see the players. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's different.
Gentlemen, this is getting away from us.
Yes.
Composure is paramount.
Well, it was getting away from us at the moment, and you could see that obviously we were hanging on the edge there, teetering, if you will. A tenuous hold on the game remained, and you had to do something to alter the course. And I have to confess that I did not suspect that would happen, because Xavier's a number 1 seed for a reason. They're a team that obviously dominated us a year ago, and it was playing out. This team didn't have the same firepower as the one a year ago, and so you kind of thought, well, all right, it's been a good run. You know, you got to the second round after losing those guys. And
right.
It's been real. You know, thanks for the fight, guys. At least we didn't come out here and get smoked. You know, that first half, right off the bat, first 5 minutes of the game, you're going, oh, you're going to play a little bit. All right.
Well, and you know, the confidence, like we talked about earlier, it swells in everybody's home as we're watching. You know, it's small, and you're like, well, we're still fighting here.
Yeah.
Boy, these are big free throws that we're making, and, you know, a key time. We're keeping this at 8. We're keeping it at 6. We're keeping it around 2 possessions. All right, they push it back to 9. It's not a big deal if we hang on here. You know, we have played a lot of ACC competition in games like this, so we shouldn't be afraid in this moment. Everything, oh, my God, they put 5 on Makura. It could have been the 5th foul for him or Kabangali, and they said, get out of here, white boy.
Which was stunning.
That was the moment.
That was a great moment. A great moment in Florida State basketball history.
Yeah.
Right? In that moment, I smiled ear to ear and thought of all of those who cried injustice. But no.
Yeah.
Justice was served.
It was, and that was the moment that it was possible. I think everyone believed in that moment. Oh, whoa, okay, this could happen right here.
Well, I think most importantly, and I've kind of touched on it off and on today, you just made a good point, a salient point here, that I think the team that realized it could happen most wasn't Florida State, who never lost excuse me, coughing at the same time I'm talking, who never lost sight.
It was a big game.
I'm not going to cry. Who never lost sight that they were in it.
Unbelievable.
But it was Xavier who began to realize they could lose it in that moment. And I'm telling you, that looked like a different team.
Yeah.
The body language throughout the roster.
Yeah.
The look on the head coach's face. Everything from the top down said, oh, well, this is not concluding the way I had anticipated.
And therein lies the value to playing in the ACC.
Exactly, because every game you play in this freaking conference looks a lot like that one, where somebody makes an unlikely play or some kid that you least suspect to step up does, and now you've got to go take it. You've got to go win it. You got to go close it out. You got to go put the foot on the throat. You got to go make it happen, because by and large, there are exceptions, obviously. By and large, those shots are made by opposing ACC teams, and these moments aren't too big for them, and you do have to find a way to take the victory before you exhale. Teams don't just go away for the most part. Even the scrappiest of the bunch down at the bottom of this conference, you kind of have to kick to sleep. Good Lord, would you just lie down? You're not good enough. You know this. You're going to hit another 3, are you? Okay. Timeout.
Right.
Let's gather ourselves. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's life. Yes, that's life of a basketball fan, but specifically one in the ACC. It's the, all right, here we go again.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do this again.
Yeah, we've got to find a way to quell this. Yeah. Well,
to the point where you don't do that anymore. You go, well, that's it. Okay. Next. Yeah. What's next?
A little bit like when we're talking about match play, where you expect your opponent to make that putt. Like, oh, you're going to hit that 15-footer. Of course you are. No, I'm going to have to make this 6-footer now, aren't I?
Yeah.
Damn it, man. Just time and again.
It reminds me of being a kid and either hitting the rink or playing pickup, football or basketball for the first time in a while, and it's the summer.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, oh, the first few plays, like, all right, let's get lined up. Let's go again. And here we go. Eventually, you don't think about
you just do
how much of a pain in the butt it is that we have to line up and do this all over again.
It's what you do.
It. And Xavier was the former of those two people.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about in the coming days before the game, because there are elements of what we're doing right now that I absolutely hate. It's hard to bring that up on a day where you punch your ticket to the Sweet 16. But, and I'm, Kumaji just doesn't need to be on the floor. I mean, very often. Let's just put it that way. Far less than he's currently on the floor. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
That's a better way of saying it or praising it. Far less than he's currently on the floor. That's what I'm going to go with, because he's useless for long stretches at a time.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to the thing that you would most customarily ask your 7-foot-plus individual center to do, which is to protect the rim.
Yeah.
There's no protecting of the rim with my man.
Yeah, I forget what precise moment it was in the second half, but he's caught with his hands down. And it's, how can your hands be down in this moment?
No.
You must. It might have even been the first, but there were many moments, actually, now that I think about it, over the weekend where I go, ooh, 21. I love you, man. And, there are certain matchups.
There's a time and a place.
Well, there are certain matchups, and you've seen it throughout the season, where we run the oop, and it's unstoppable.
Syracuse game.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a really good example.
Time and again, they had nothing for it.
Yeah.
By the way, just do this. If all of this time over the years that you've listened to this show and you've either enjoyed it or hated it, loved it, been somewhat indifferent, rarely indifferent, I think. Usually it's one or the other. When you hear me talk about truncated tournaments and the danger in applying your satisfaction levels to a postseason tournament, look no further than this situation where it's right now working to our benefit, where the season was okay. It was a good season. I thought it was a season that was really important that they get back, and so the stated goal had been achieved. As I said earlier, everything else is gravy. Now this feels like a season that only emboldens you to embrace the program further, and I hope that's what happens. But it's by and large because of the result of these two games. Whereas the point that I typically make is you can never really enjoy a season if your expectations are such that they're unreasonable. And therefore you can't, unless that thing is met every time out, then you don't get to enjoy the ride. Well, right about now, can you imagine the psyche of Virginia fans, not just because that they're the first ever 1 seed to get knocked out by a 16 seed, which I can't repeat enough times. But not only is that awesome and really hilarious for all of us pointing a finger and laughing hysterically, but also because of the larger talking point, which is that the guy that did that, the guy that said it's national championship or bust for that team, did not get to enjoy the 30-plus wins, the domination of the ACC, the tournament ACC title that Virginia won,
Correct.
or anything that happened. And that guy's fan life, if you will, didn't begin until game one of the tournament, where in his mind it was a foregone conclusion. And then that happened. That guy basically saw one Virginia game this year, and it was that one.
Well, my guess is that guy saw the second half of that game, because if that's your attitude, then you're not even watching round one.
Right.
It's a 116. Call me when they get in the second round and then they play a real team, because we're going to learn something about what we are then.
Nope.
Yeah.
No. Well, it's also a lesson for Tony Bennett, who was all class. He was indeed all class after that game. But, man, that's why you do not do that. You don't put a governor on a team that can really go.
Yeah.
There's no reason for that. This is what can happen, man.
Yeah.
Look outside that window, Tony.
Right. Yeah. No.
This is what happens.
Yeah. It's Apollo Creed. He's wrong for us, baby.
Yeah, he's all wrong.
He's all wrong.
Yeah.
Southpaw jinx nothing. I'll drop him in the fifth.
Yeah. Well, and I'm telling you, tell me the moment, and we didn't get to do it today, but I'll tell you when I had it happen. I think it's like 12 points in the first half. There's a moment where you look at the way that they're playing and the way that the look on Virginia's face,
yeah,
where it lends credence to this could happen. And I think you hear it in the announcers' voices as well in that moment, like, oh, they believe. That moment of belief for an underdog team is something to behold if you're watching at the right time and you catch the right glimpse from the underdog team and the right look of despair and concern.
The glossy-eyed look.
Yeah, this sort of, what's going on here? They keep making these shots. That look on the Virginia players' faces, like, that kid made another shot.
Huh.
He's going to keep making him.
I never missed this 8-footer, and
I just didn't. It wasn't close.
Back iron, and it's
Oh,
that's an N1.
Oh. And look at them. They really believe. These guys are celebrating like they're going to win.
Coach, help.
Yeah. Why are they playing so well? Who are these guys? What's going on with this group here? It was beautiful. Anyhow, so congratulations to the Florida State men's basketball team, to Leonard Hamilton and his staff, and to all of us who do enjoy the season and embrace the successes and acknowledge the failures and everything in between, reasonably so. It's our day to celebrate, not yours.
Come on over.
No, I don't want you. Too many years. Get the hell out of here.
Not even today?
Nope.
Oh,
No, they can watch from afar.
My goodness.
It's our day.
Put up that wall.
The reasonable people of the world.
Ellis Island is closed for you, sir.
Good work, Matthew. Great work, Tom. How about that? You're a little shaky today, Matthew. Be well, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.